March Madness is upon us. We're going to have a little fun talking some tourney, and Syracuse gets a firm no from a head coach. We'll talk all about it. Manchild Show with Boy Green, digital, live, starts right now.
Let's go! It's time for the talk to you. Cause when you're born, it's always coming through. And Boy Green is always on the scene. And we're gonna always bring it to you live streaming. So get ready. Get ready, cause here they come.
All right, everybody, welcome aboard. Happy Wednesday. It's the Wednesday live show, Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital, talking sports with you. We're going to deviate from our normal topic du jour today. We always have football, usually lead with football, usually breaking down football. But it's a little quiet this week. The NFL draft not too far away, and we'll be doing plenty of draft stuff in both our live and recorded stuff coming up here in the next 4 weeks or so, a little over 4 weeks before we get to the NFL draft. But tomorrow, it all really begins, or really it began last night, I guess. But, March Madness, to me, doesn't really start until the field of 64. And you have that Thursday and that Friday where literally you've got games from noon to midnight and sometimes 3 and 4 at a time. And it's just a blast to have a television and have all those split screens going, or using your phone or whatever devices you use, and enjoying tourney madness. Not as much fun for us here in central New York and Syracuse, as Boy Green knows. Syracuse not in the tournament, and also searching for a head coach right now, which is kind of exciting, except a little bit of bad news. I'll drop this really quick first, Boy Green. Syracuse getting a no from a guy that apparently was at or near the top of their list, and that's Brian Hodgson, the South Florida coach, who either is going to stay at – I got to believe he's either going to stay at South Florida or Providence is wooing him with that little bit deeper pocket in terms of NIL money. So we'll see what Hodgson decides. He's got a basketball game, by the way, to prepare for this week. His team is in the NCAA tournament as an 11 seed. So I don't know that he's thinking about all this stuff or wants to be thinking about all this stuff as he's trying to prepare his team. But it does, it is an interesting world to be in. First of all, Syracuse hasn't, until Adrian Autry took over for Jim Boeheim, they hadn't had a coaching change in 47 years, okay? So we're not used to, coaching tumult, dare I say, in basketball in particular. We've had some of it in football, but not in basketball. And I don't think we've ever had a situation, at least during my lifetime, where a coach has turned down Syracuse when offered the head coaching job. So this is new territory. Boy Green, let me just get quickly your reaction to the news last night, and then we're going to bring in our insider and talk a little bit more about the tournament and the Syracuse situation. Go ahead.
One word. One. Embarrassing. That a coach at South Florida would, and hopefully this is the very bitter pill that Syracuse needed to wake up. When you get rejected by a South Florida coach, with all due respect, I probably should have said that at the beginning before I said the insult, but it's neither here nor there now. Like, come on, man. That's embarrassing. It's for all Syracuse alum that are out there, that has to have been a very disturbing thing to read, on social media yesterday, to see in articles and things of that nature, and hopefully humbling. Like Syracuse, like, wow, our financial package apparently isn't enough. Wow, our pitch of, hey, the Syracuse brand isn't enough. So hopefully that's a wake-up call, and we'll see where Syracuse pivots from here.
Yeah. All right. So that's the breaking news. We'll get into that. Our guest can certainly talk about it as well. I want to welcome in a longtime friend of mine. He once sat in my radio chair for a good bunch of time when Bud was on the air with me, when I had another commitment, you might say. So he's been a good friend of mine, and has had a marvelous career in television sports. He currently sits down in Charlotte, North Carolina. So he's like our Charlotte correspondent. Anything's going on down there with the Panthers, he's my guy to turn to find out what the the heck's going on or anything else in the world of Charlotte, because you got a college basketball team down there. You got all kinds of stuff going on in that beautiful city of Charlotte, which I got to get myself to hopefully this summer, Boy Green.
You got a lot of connections down there. Denise Schroff is down there.
I think this is going to be the summer. This is going to be the summer of Manchild. You had the summer of George and Seinfeld. It's going to be the summer of Manchild. And I'm just
okay, nice.
All right, wife, I don't care. Whatever you're doing, I'm doing my thing. Here's what I'm doing. See you later.
Good luck with that plan.
Nice. Yeah, good luck with that one is right. He works down for Carolina Sports Live down there in North Carolina. Let's welcome in our friend, Mr. Mike Lissette. How are you, sir?
Doing good, guys. How about you?
We're good. We're fine.
I just want to say the last time I was on this show, I wore the same flannel shirt. And so to celebrate the occasion, I'm wearing the exact same flannel shirt.
It's one of your faves. It's like Jerry had the golden shirt, golden boy. It's like your golden boy.
I can promise everyone that I have more than one shirt. It just so happened that it's cold in Charlotte today. And I was like, you know what? I'm feeling the flannel. And as soon as I put it on, Jim reminded me that I was wearing the same one as last time. So
it's actually Boy Green that picked it up. I didn't pick it up, but he's screwed with that kind of stuff.
That is. And Mike, do you just have it in your closet with a little note? Manchild reached out. Like, this is it for Manchild. It's not that I believe you only have one shirt. I believe that this is a specially designed shirt for this particular situation, for this particular occasion.
When there's a fire and it's like break if there's an emergency, it's the shirt's in the same kind of thing. It's like it calls to be on the show. So I break it, pull out the shirt, and then I'm ready to go.
I got a great idea, Mike. I don't know if you're aware, but we have a merch shop. As a matter of fact, if you look in the comments, you're online with us right now on our live broadcast here. We've got a merch shop. Yeah, Boy Green's throwing it up there on the screen. It's through Etsy. We use Etsy as our platform. They're our storefront. So it's etsy.com/shop/MC Show Digital Shop. I know that's a lot to type in, but there's a link right there in the comments. And we post it also on our home YouTube page, so you can click on it right there at any time, even when we're not in the middle of doing a video. And there are some cool things in the shop, dare I say, Mike. As you see, Boy Green and I sporting 12th Manchild caps today. That's our VIP club, the 12th MC, a.k.a. the 12th Manchild. You can now become a member of our channel by subscribing. As you see in the scrolling ticker below right there, we have 3 levels, and you can support the channel that way. So that's kind of a new thing that has just been in existence, for like a month or so, a month or two on our show. And we created a merch shop, which behind the scenes, Mike, I was working like a mad dog on. I never realized how hard it is to set up a storefront and to coordinate merchandise and put all kinds of stuff. That's the big logo there. That's the 12th logo. Boy Green is splashing up right over my face there. But anyway, so we got a merch shop. So I think what I'm going to do, I mean, you've been good to me over the years. Dare I say, I call, you answer. That's always nice. When people go big time, sometimes people don't answer the phone. I've got some, dare I say, friends in quotes, or former friends that don't pick up the phone for some reason when I call them, or ignore my texts and think that I don't realize that they're being, what's. Anyway, so you have never been that guy. Plus, I probably owe you. I know you did get some pay for it for all that time that you spent in the studio when I was basically, taking care of some personal business for a number of weeks. It was like a 6-week period. This was not a day or two that Mike came in and filled in for me. So tell you what I will do, Mike. All right. I just will need your home address. I don't think I have that, but we'll get that from you off air. And I will send you some Manchild Show with Boy Green merch. And then the next time you're on the show, you wear the merch. Okay. You sport the brand, as we say. Okay. You'll have a shirt. You won't need to wear that silly shirt. You can wear our shirt, and maybe some other paraphernalia that I push up your way. Okay.
I got to kid you, because thank you for asking to get my address off air, as opposed to when the one time you gave my personal email address out on the air.
Oh, I did do that. Yeah. Did that get a lot of pings?
I got emails from viewers.
Emails? I love it.
I have AOL, and I was like, yes, I do.
Well, that's the whole thing. You got the ridiculous AOL email. I mean, it's the coolest thing and the most ridiculous thing all in one. I mean, I don't know whether it's ultra cool and ultra like OG, or whether it's like, come on, dude, please.
Look, you have Hotmail. Who are you to talk? Hotmail? Come on, man.
I have like 4 Gmails now, though, so I've upgraded, I guess. But I do still have Hotmails because people have had them for years. When I got to shut down my accounts, I got people. Right. That's the only way they know how to get in touch with me. I'm not shutting down my accounts just because somebody thinks I'm a little old school. Who cares? Good. I'm OG, baby. He's the original OG because I do not have AOL. I mean, that's when you had the dial-up internet and you're like, That's a crazy thing.
Thank you for that very accurate retelling of that. That was very nice. Those good times.
As my daughter refers to as the olden days.
Yes, that's accurate. Right.
All right. Well, good to see you, Lisette. Let's get down to the business at hand because there are things to talk about. And I want to start with what Boy Green and I were just talking about. You are an SU alum. I know that you're down in Charlotte these days, but you still pay attention, certainly, to the program and the state of the program. And so this is new territory for Syracuse. Number one, the firing of a coach. We don't see that very often. I mean, we were told that Jim Boeheim stepped down, so I guess he technically wasn't fired. But Adrian Autry was fired. He still had a contract. He still is going to get paid for time remaining on his contract, and they are in search of another coach. A lot of coaches in the mid-major world and some places that are not like world-famous programs, like South Florida and Brian Hodgson, have been brought up as candidates by the media. Whether truly they are candidates, in terms of what the Syracuse athletic department and the athletic director and the chancellor are looking at, we don't really know that for sure. I mean, but we're trying to figure out who makes sense, who's available, so on and so forth. But a rare turn down, and there it is. You see the Jeff Goodman tweet. He put that out last night. It has been confirmed by a couple other people as well. So it looks like Brian Hodgson has turned down the Syracuse job. And the thought is that he's either going to go to Providence, who has a little bit deeper NIL budget, or that he might just end up taking an extension with the South Florida Bulls, who, as I said, are currently in the tournament and an 11 seed, and they'll play a little bit later this week. So, Mike, give me your thoughts on this whole thing, and what does it say about your alma mater and the state of this program at the moment?
Well, I think anyone that takes this job understands it's going to be a tough job. And I think the odds are against them a little bit, as we talked about with NIL money or the lack thereof. So I don't think anyone is approaching this job with stars in their eyes saying, oh my gosh, this is the job that I need. I think they look at it and they say, it'd be really cool to have my resume, but I don't see anything long-term happening in this situation, because they're going to blame me right away when we can't start winning. And it's going to be 2 and out, 3 and out, like it was for Autry. I think, when the ACC tournament was down here, I was doing my due diligence, sort of talking to people I thought in the know. And that was a concern that was brought up in regard to Jerry McNamara. In talking to people there, I think Jerry, obviously, when the school comes calling, you got to be interested in it. But I think Jerry, from what I've heard, also understands that, this is going to be a tough job, and it might not be worth sullying my reputation if it doesn't go well. So it's a hard sell at the moment. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, obviously, I know that's almost blasphemous when you say that to your listeners. It's the great Syracuse program. It's got so much history and tradition. But with NIL and the transfer portal, history and tradition goes out the window. It's a what have you done for me lately environment. And Syracuse, as far as treating its head coaches well, at least in recent memory, has not done much for them. So it's going to be a tricky situation for Syracuse going forward. They'll be fine. They'll figure out some guy, but it's going to take work, and they might have to bend a little bit for that person.
Mike, let me bring back up this tweet. And the other thing I wanted to highlight here, if I had a laser pointer, I would. If you go down there, it says 1.9 million impressions. How many people interacted or saw that Syracuse was rejected by Brian Hodgson here? Syracuse already has been down and out. They haven't been to the tournament in 5 years. They've missed the tournament in 6 of the last 7 years. You just gave a very blunt assessment of sort of how it's viewed at this point. But what kind of damage does that do for people? I think there's a lot of people, and I think it was Brent Axe the other day when he joined us, talked about when people were watching Selection Sunday, just casual fans are like, oh, where's Syracuse? They just sort of assume that Syracuse should be in the mix. And then for whoever those casuals are, we're like, wait a second, South Florida guy just rejected them? How much damage is done with reports like this that Syracuse, if we are to believe it, and Alert said a couple other reporters have since, corroborated what Jeff Goodman said here, that, wow, Syracuse getting rejected by these guys, that can't be good for the brand either.
I mean, yes and no. I also don't think it's good for the brand when they go out and lose by 20. I mean, but people get over it. I think that when they bring in the next person, and if that person turns out to be the right person, then the next thing you know, they're right back in it, and people are forgetting about all this, and they're saying, hey, here's a winner. I mean, look at what Jerry McNamara has done at Siena within 2 years. I'm not saying he's the right guy, but there's a guy that's turned around a program like that with some hard work. So whoever comes in next, if they roll up their sleeves and get to work and produce results, I I think people will forget about this rather quickly.
Mike, you're familiar with guys that turn around programs. One of them is a guy who has now turned around St. John's. You worked in Louisville when Rick Pitino was there coaching the Louisville Cardinals, all through the scandals, too. Two of them, the escort service scandal and then the paying the player money scandal, right? I think you were there for both of the scandals, correct? What's that?
The escorts and the shoes. Yes, that's
yeah, the escorts and the shoes, as it's known in Louisville. Okay, beautiful. They even have a name for it. Hashtag escorts, hashtag shoes. Okay. But you have seen what Rick Pitino can do up close and personal. And what he has done with St. John's, at least from a basketball standpoint and from an NIL standpoint, is truly, truly remarkable. And then I offered, when we were talking to Brent actually yesterday about this, I offered a program that has not been able to get back to prominence, and that's Georgetown, a team that you're also very familiar with, being a Syracuse alum, and how they have not really, they've had some glimpses here or there, but since Big John Thompson left, Georgetown has not been able to ascend back into national prominence really of any sort. Give me your thoughts. Why is one program like a Georgetown with that great history unable to land, back on its feet, and a program like St. John's that was really, really down in the dumps a few years back has completely jump back into the national scene? Give me your thoughts on that. And does it all come down to Syracuse making a good hire here as head coach?
I mean, you just answered your question. Yes, yes, and yes. I mean, it's Rick Pitino. I mean, Rick is such a galvanizing person. You can say what you will about his character, but the second he walks into a room, you're gravitating toward him because he's so charismatic and so flamboyant in his actions, and he's just such a powerful person that you can't help but get caught up in it. Donors have come up and come out for the program, and he's been able to attract the right players. This guy, again, say what you will about some of the personal stuff and whether or not you trust him or not, but he can flat out coach when given the chance. And you talk about St. John's, that was a program that was totally down on its luck for years, irrelevant program. And he comes in there, and then what are they doing? They're in the Big East Championship. They're making their case, for deep runs last year. It didn't work out, but it's like one of those things where Rick comes into a room and he's done it time and time again. He's a guy that adapts to the game, but at the same time knows what works and is not the kind of guy that's a play of the day type person. He will stick with the plays that work and make sure his players understand how to run those plays. And if they don't understand it or don't want to understand it, as he once famously said, there's the door.
By the way, let me throw this up. Matt from Auburn is in the comments section. He says, Mike Lissette from the WHEN days. So we've got a lot of people in the chat. I see DJ14 saying go Syracuse. So it's good to get a lot of that love out there in the audience. I know you mentioned you're not sure if he's the right guy, but some other Jeff Goodman reporting / whatever you want to call, suggesting where Syracuse could turn next. There's a lot of people immediately turning to GMAC and what he did at Siena. And Syracuse did go in this direction with Autry, and it failed. But at least Jerry McNamara's had some head coaching experience that obviously Red didn't have. How would you feel, Mike Lissette, if Syracuse ended up hiring Jerry McNamara to be the next head coach?
Oh, I don't mean that he's the wrong guy. I don't mean saying that I don't think he's the right guy. I'm just saying I don't know if he's the savior for the program.
Sure,
I mean,
right.
Again, from what we've seen in his limited resume, he can coach, and he'd definitely be a feel-good story of, the 2003, kid coming home and leading the program. So, yeah, it would get a lot of positive press. It would definitely get a lot of positive buzz. But then the work starts and is, he's got to have to work around the limited NIL money. He's going to have to work around the fact that there is this notion of a down and out program right now. It's going to be a lot of work for him. I'd be optimistic he can do it if they believe he's the right guy. But again, it's a tough job right now for anyone that comes in, let alone someone with only 2 years of head coaching experience.
So let me just follow up here. Would you have any hesitation hiring based on Autry failing? So Boeheim was obviously a Syracuse guy. You get him. He's here forever. They go in-house. They do not do a national search, go to Autry. That fails. And Jerry McNamara, again, while he would have this head coaching experience at Siena, he still is a Syracuse guy. He's a quote-unquote in-house guy that they're sort of going with. They're not really going outside the family, if we are to say. So would you have any hesitation if they went in that direction as a fan?
No, I wouldn't. I would be all in if I were a fan. I mean, I see your point. I see where, but I would say, to me, based on the current climate of where we are in college basketball, I would almost want somebody that gets it, that totally gets what Syracuse basketball is all about, what the tradition is all about. To me, as an alum, I would feel more comfortable with someone like GMAC coming in, or even a Mike Hopkins coming back. It's like, this is a guy. Now, obviously, the circumstances have changed big time since Hopkins' days, but This is a guy that gets about what it means to be a Syracuse Orange to the core, and that will be with this program ride or die. So that to me is exciting. But I understand your point. It totally didn't work out with the last guy. Do we really want to go back in this direction? It's definitely an argument worth having, and I imagine those people behind the scenes that are making those arguments are having these exact conversations right now. Yeah, I get that you like Jerry McNamara, but didn't we just do this? And then counterpoint. So yes, good point.
And here's the thing too, Mike. I mean, so I've raised Rick Pitino's name time and time again. He's one of my favorite all-time coaches, despite, as you said, some moral issues off the floor. But he is a tremendous basketball coach and a tremendous builder of programs. But I don't see any Rick Pitino's hanging on any trees right now, Mike. You know, I'm looking around outside my house. So I don't see anything hanging on any trees to say, here's the savior. You just said it. Syracuse's program needs a savior. Who's the savior, Mike? Is there a savior out there? Is there somebody in the Power Four that could be plucked? Is there some, Bobby Hurley now is suddenly available. I don't know that I would call him a savior. He's had some failures even at Arizona State, but now he'd be back on the East Coast. I don't know. I mean, I'm shaking all the trees, Mike, and I agree kind of with what it seems that you're saying about McNamara, or at least what I think that you're intimating about McNamara, that it would be a feel-good story. It's kind of this cool thing, but is he ready? And does he want to come at this moment? Okay. And I think those are important things to consider. And I think Jerry would, because it'd be like a $2 million a year raise. I mean, I don't know how you turn that down. You're making $1 million, you're going to make close to $3 million. You say, nah, I'll wait. I'll hang around at Siena, see if I can build a little more, go to a little bit bigger school, do a good job there. And then, the whole world will want me and I could go coach anywhere I want, or I can go back to my alma mater. I don't know. I don't see him saying no to $2 million raise. It seems kind of crazy for GMAC to do that. But my question is, if it's not going to be him, I'm having trouble finding anybody else that I say, yeah, let's do this. This is the guy. Go get him. I just don't see it.
That's the thing. I think about this all the time, too, in the NBA. And I think part of the reason for that is because coaches get recycled in and out so quickly nowadays that it's almost really hard to develop a brand and a name of this is a guy you're going to want to have. I mean, look at a guy like Doc Rivers in the NBA. This is a guy that's a national champion. He's won a championship for the Celtics. Would he be considered a sexy hire now by a lot of teams? I mean, his reputation has sort of gone down based on the fact that he's been let go and fired at jobs and hasn't worked out with Milwaukee. There's not a lot of those Pat Riley, Phil Jackson type coaches left. Dean Smith, even a guy, John Calipari still has that name value, but for every John Calipari, there's a bunch of guys that last 2 or 3 seasons and are and sort of get cycled through the system again. So I think that's more of a statement on the current state of where we are in college and professional sports, where coaches don't have a lot of staying power. They don't have a lot of power in general. And that brand that a lot of coaches from back in the day had is no longer the case.
Yeah, and I'll just drop this really quick, Mike. You talk about competent coaches that are out there and available, theoretically. The first 2 names that pop onto my radar are Tony Bennett and Jay Wright. I don't think either guy has any interest in coming back and coaching college basketball. So, those are the pie in the sky guys, and they don't even like the NIL world, it seems. And they walk away from the game because of the transfer portal and NIL. So that's just the pie in the sky, get me a great coach again. Get me a guy that's a leader of men. Get me a guy who can build a team on the basketball court and have him playing good fundamental basketball, which it seems like it's been a while here at Syracuse that's actually happened. So give me your thoughts on that.
No, that's just it. I mean, in terms of Jay Wright and Tony Bennett, I wouldn't take that as a slight on Syracuse. I think those guys are just so jaded by the system, that they don't want any part of it. I talked to Dave Clawson a couple of weeks ago, former Wake Forest coach, and he fully admitted that one of the big reasons why he just bowed out of Wake Forest was he was tired of dealing with NIL money and the fact that in the middle of the season, his players are getting hit up on DMs by other coaches in other schools, and it's just like this is stupid. I mean, he misses the days when guys would be together for 4 years and they'd be at each other's weddings. That doesn't happen anymore in college sports. It's so up and down, and there's so much change, and for a coach of a certain generation like a Bennett or a Wright, they don't want any part of it.
Mike, as we're going through this process, again, we have the wonderful Mike Lissette joining us here on the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe, and boop. Let me throw this up on the screen. YouTube.com/@MC Show Digital is the way to go. Mike, who's your, everyone, has a dream girl. Who's your dream girl for Syracuse? Who is the dream target? Alerts were starting out Tony Bennett, Jay Wright. Those are sexy. Is there someone that you're like, hey, if I was making the hire, it'd be this person?
I would still want. To me, I have good memories of 2003, and I think a lot of people do too. I think if you're Syracuse, you do everything you can to get Jerry McNamara back. I think it would be probably the best thing for the program right now. A feel-good story. The kid left. He comes back home. He has the chance to be the conquering hero. I mean, I think that's how you sell it to him. That's how you sell it to the people. And you let it go. I mean, I think that's where it is right now, to be honest. I think that's the direction that we're going in. I'm not sure if it's going to happen based on what Jerry wants to do, but I think to me, it makes sense. The pieces align.
Here's a crazy mad idea, but why not? We're mad scientists today. We've got test tubes, and we're pouring different elixirs in there and seeing if one of them explodes right in our very face. Would Syracuse dare to be innovative? They have this new AD that, is, supposed to be like cutting edge new guy. Do you know anything about Brian Blair, by the way, before I ask my question? You know anything about him?
He worked in Toledo after I left Toledo.
Okay. So you missed him there.
What's funny
you were in Toledo for a while. You've been around. You've been around, they say. As Al Pacino once said, I've been around. You've been around, Mike.
You Google his name, I think. So there's Brian B. Blair. And then there's B. Brian Blair, and B. Brian Blair was a wrestler from back in the day. So it's like Michael B.
I knew you couldn't resist getting a wrestling reference into today's conversation. No, congratulations, you've done it.
This guy has to separate himself from B. Brian Blair, who was a former WWE guy.
I remember B. Brian Blair, believe it or not. I remember him.
Yeah. No. He's a guy that likes to, from what I know about him, he's a guy, not the wrestler, but the athletic director. He's a guy that likes different things and galvanize fan interest by trying different ideas. I mean, again, I see where you're going with. I'm curious as to what crazy idea you're cooking up in your head.
Well, I'm going to throw out two crazy ideas: Dawn Staley or Becky Hammond.
Ooh,
first female head coach of Division I college basketball program. I don't know if it makes any sense whatsoever from NIL, recruiting, and all the other things that go along with this, but they are two clearly terrific basketball minds with a lot of experience, just not in exactly this lane. But basketball is basketball, isn't it? Just a thought.
It's an interesting idea. I don't know if you can get Dawn to come from South Carolina and the good things she's got going on there.
I know.
I mean, they have a tremendous fan interest there that's greater than that of the men's team. I mean, it really is. People get up for those games again, and she's a big part of it. So
we got ourselves a 30,000 seat arena up here. You know that, Mike? You know that? There's only one in college that has one. Can be a lure. It's been renovated too. It isn't even just blank walls anymore. It's actually been renovated. They got nice lighting now and everything.
It looks amazing when you watch it on TV. It looks like something right out of New York City. I mean, it really, really is well done. From afar. I haven't been there yet, but it looks fantastic.
So you say no on the two girls, or the two
I think that'd be tough sales for them. Honestly.
Okay. It's just a fun. Little. I do want to talk a little bit with you about the NCAA tournament, which starts in earnest, tomorrow. I know there are a couple more playing games tonight. There were a couple last night. One was Texas game right down to the wire, game-winning shot with a second left. Pretty cool stuff. So the tournament already is off to kind of, dare I say, a rip-roaring start. But Thursday and Friday, are our big deals, in terms of people that love college basketball and love what the NCAA tournament brings, an insane amount of games in a small period of time. And, the idea of rooting for Cinderella, that there's just going to be some teams that look great on paper that are just going to get, waxed by somebody that you don't expect to get waxed. But I've been fascinated, Mike, and I saw you put a tweet out. I'll tweet quote you here, okay? You put a tweet out, or you reposted a tweet. Okay, you reposted a tweet.
Come on, Lurch, you're in this digital world now. You got to get the lingo right. All right, Lurch? Come on, man.
Yeah, he retweeted or reposted a tweet, okay? But I'm sure that you were thinking it too, as I was thinking it, Mike. And the tweet says, all in the same region, John Shire, Rick Pitino, Bill Self, Tom Izzo, Mick Cronin, and Dan Hurley. And I was like the same thing. When I saw the bracket came out, I was like, what have they done here in the East? Poor St. John's. Heading to the West Coast to play a game, and then if a couple of games, and then if they're victorious, come on back to the East Coast and play Duke, by the way, in all likelihood, who'll probably be sitting there waiting for you, my goodness. And to put all these teams in the East region, St. John's and UConn have played 3 times already this year. Do we really need to see a fourth in the same region of the bracket? I mean, couldn't we at least spread that out where maybe they meet in the national championship or something? We got to put them in the same bracket? I mean, you got to be kidding me. Tom Izzo in there with Rick Pitino, in there with Bill Self, Dan Hurley. What is happening here? I mean, we all just ought to watch the East region and forget about the rest of the tournament, because that's where all the interesting stuff is likely to be happening. What's your thoughts on
16, I got Duke, St. John's, and MSU, UConn, and those are some power, heavy-hitting coach matchups right there. It's fantastic. I mean, whoever comes out of that bracket is going to have earned it. The thing is, I don't know how much energy they're going to have left after that, because they're really going to have work for it, and the coaches are going to have to work overtime, coming up with points and counterpoints and things like that. But no, I actually have UConn coming out of there. I really do. I think that they're a team that's smartened from what happened in the championship game in the conference. I always look to those teams that I think are mature enough to handle defeat, and I think that if they can channel that, I think they're the one that's going to come in with the most edge and come out of that bracket. So I got UConn in that one, out of that incredible lineup of coaches with Izzo and Shire and Pitino and Hurley. It really is. I mean, that's where I think a lot of eyes will be this weekend.
I got to ask you about another team in this tournament, Mike.
Yes.
It's funny. You get the bracket, you read the bracket, you look at the matchups, and there's always a team or two where I'm like, who? What? Where? When?
I know where you're going.
So I see a team in the West region, okay, taking on powerhouse Florida. Purdue. Who's a 2 seed. And it just says on the line, Queens.
Yes.
Now, my first thought, just all cards on the table, my first thought is that there is a Queens College in New York City, in Queens.
Yes.
Jerry Seinfeld wears Queens College shirts sometimes in Seinfeld episodes, and I think it's because Jerry went to Queens College. I think part of his education was that he went to Queens College. I hope I'm right about that, but I know he wears the Queens College shirt, so I think he's an alum. I'm not 100% sure of that. You can go look it up if you want. But Queens College, very familiar with, not too far from where I grew up, okay? And I was thinking, wait a minute, what? Queens College plays in a league, at least back when I was in Queens a long time ago, called the CUNY, all right? The City University of New York League, right? CUNY. And I was like, they're not like Division I. They don't play in games that get to the NCAA tournament. That can't be Queens College, is it? That's the only Queens I know. Of course, I did a little research, and I found out there's a Queens University, the Queens University Royals, who are, in all places, Charlotte, North Carolina. Bing! All right, like a little location thing just popped off in my head. I was like, I got to get Lisette on to talk about who the heck the Queens Royals are down in Charlotte. Mike, have you covered their games? Were you once play-by-play voice for this team down there? I mean, anything's possible. Have you done any stories on any of the Royals players? Give me your thoughts on this. I thought maybe it was a team that was getting ready to play the Harlem Globetrotters. It was just some made-up team when I read it.
I've done By the way, Jerry did go to Queens, the one in New York, not the one in Charlotte.
There it is.
Yes.
There it is. Queens got it up there. Education, Queens College. Got a bachelor's from Queens College. There you go.
A proud alum. I have done stories on Queens. The background on them is they were Division II for a while. They just went Division I. And in that short time, Grant Leonard, who was quietly developed into a quality head coach through the upbringings of the system, was the associate head coach there for a while. He's done a good job of recruiting players that just seem to be a hairs off from where they could be. If you look at their roster, they're actually a very, very big team. It's not like one of them little itty bitty schools where you got a 6'6" center. I mean, this team definitely has some size, and they can score. They average about 89 points a game, which is 15th in the nation. So they can put up points. The curious thing about them is, for as big as they are not a good defensive team, which is so strange. They give up a lot of points. They're a 15 seed for a reason. I don't think anybody really is from the Boilermaker side shaking in their boots saying, "Oh, Queens, what am I going to do?"
Do you even know, Mike, off the top of your head, what the league is that they're in? What league do they play in? Do you know if you don't know, it's okay. You don't have to.
Is it the ASUN? I think it's the ASUN. I think.
It's these teams from these leagues. You're like, what's that league? Who's in that league?
Yeah,
Who plays in that?
ASUN. Yeah, they actually beat Scottie Pippen's school, Central Arkansas, win the ASUN championship.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how they got there. But their leading scorer is interesting. It's Nasir Mann, who is actually bigger than his brother Trey Mann, who plays right down the road at the Charlotte Hornets. He averages about 15 a game. And the other thing you got to know about Queens is that their coach loves Christmas sweaters. Like if you Google him,
he's an ugly sweater guy.
He wears it all the time. It's become his thing. I don't know if he'll bust him out for the NCAA tournament, but that's what he's known for around town. Wearing these, big sweaters that everyone points at and goes, "That's interesting." He loves dogs too. Usually his sweaters have his dogs on them.
His dogs. He has dog sweaters. Okay, because you remember, it goes back a long way, but for people that are a little bit older anyway, and has followed the tournament as long as I have, Lou Carnesecca, the legendary coach at St. John's, was wearing these hideous, ugly sweaters. And he got national attention for wearing these awful sweaters during the NCAA tournament and during important games of note. So, all right, we got another ugly sweater guy back in the mix.
Leonard, it is tongue in cheek. I think he definitely knows what he's doing. He's having fun doing it. He's not trying to trailblaze and set any fashion statements.
Well, I'm trying to trailblaze and set fashion statements, Mike. I just said to my wife the other day, you'll love this. All right. So I wish I could just grab them. They're not nearby, though, so I can't grab them. But I have a set of pajamas that actually a friend of mine had gotten for me for Christmas a couple of years ago. And it has 1,000 pictures of my dog. It's like splotched my dog's head Mookie. My legs, my whole pajamas is just head to toe Mookie. There's like 100 Mookies on my pajamas. All right. And I call them my Mookie pajamas. So sometimes I wear my Mookie pajamas and I always call the dog over. I say, "I'm wearing my Mookie pajamas. Look, you're on my pajamas." I don't think he understands a word I'm getting. My dog, because my wife is crazy, has pajamas. He has several sets of pajamas. He has almost as many sets of pajamas as I have to go to sleep in. And I'm efforting right now, Mike. I'm efforting to try and get Mookie pajamas with me on them because I'm Mookie's number one. And then when I'm wearing my Mookie pajamas, I put on the daddy pajamas on Mookie and just make the whole night of it. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like get out a cup of hot cocoa and enjoy the night. He's wearing his daddy pajamas. I'm wearing my Mookie pajamas. We're kind of symbiotic. We're connected in some way. So hokey as it might be, sometimes we love our pets that much that we want to be connected to them in some way. So now I am a Queens University Royals fan for the rest of this tournament, Mike. I love this guy. I like the story. I like that this was once a Division II program that quickly has ascended in the Division I ranks and has got themselves a tournament bid. That is exciting stuff. That is what March Madness is all about, my friend.
If that's the case, then get ready for a nice 2-hour ride. It's going to be over after that.
It's going to be over in 2 hours. Huh? You just said they're an offensive juggernaut. For crying out loud. Positive vibes here, Michael. Please. Purdue's a little tough, huh? We've had 15-2 upsets, okay?
We have. I mean, but I don't think
it happens.
I will say, if we're going back to that bracket for a second, if I may, freewheel for, I think Duke. Here's the thing with Duke. When Isaiah Evans is a local kid here in Charlotte, went to North Neck High School. The guy can fill up a basket. When he scores 25 points a night, Duke is unbeatable. I mean, you cannot stop them. Between the Bruiser brothers and him going off, I know they're shorthanded with Foster, but between the Bruiser brothers and him going off, they're unstoppable. The problem with that is that it can't happen every night. There are some nights where he comes out and drops 16 in the first half, and then for some reason they just go away from him, or he gets passive, and then the game plan changes. So that to me is the key for Duke. If they can get him going and he is consistently locked in, I don't think anyone's going to beat them, but I also don't see that happening. He's had too many instances of inconsistent games on a game-to-game basis, and in this tournament, the way it's set up now, you can't do that. You've got to come out on a Thursday, have a great game, then come back on a Saturday, have a great game, then do the same thing the following weekend. I don't think at this point in his career he's got that in him. I think it could, but it's not happening right now.
By the way, here's that nugget. Here's that nugget for you guys. There have been 11 instances of a number 15 seed upsetting a number 2 seed in the NCAA tournament since the field expanded to 64 teams in 1985. So you're saying there's a chance.
Queens Royals, baby. Queens Royals. I'm down with
Here
that.
are the recent ones, by the way. 2021, Oral Roberts took out Ohio State. 2022, St. Peter's, the Peacocks, took out number 2 Kentucky. And then 2023, Princeton took out Arizona. So,
BG, you're faster than me. If you can for a minute, get me the Queens Royals logo. I want to see what the heck this Queens University.
Sure.
I want to see what it is. The Flying Falcons? Is it the Blue Panthers? What the heck is it? Do you know what their nickname is, Mike? What are the? It's the Royals, right? Yeah. What's it for? What's that connected to?
It's a lion wearing a crown.
A lion wearing a crown. Okay.
It's a lion wearing a crown.
Okay. All right. We're going to check out this.
Here it is.
That looks like a lion. Is that a lion or a tiger? It looks like a lion.
To me, I get lion.
Lion and a tiger, for crying out loud. A tiger has stripes, pal. Okay. A lion doesn't. Right? Okay. Yeah, that's a lion. Yeah,
that's definitely a lion. Yeah.
But I've never seen a lion with an eyebrow line like that. That's
and look at how it's built into the Q. So you've got the Q for Queens. I don't know if you noticed that, folks. That's the outside of that logo.
Yeah, sure.
And the Royals are built into that. One of the things I love about the NCAA tournament, minor league baseball would be another great example, are the cool logos. That you're going to get into these foreign lands here of teams that are exotic that you rarely see, or you see once in a blue moon, and then they have these really cool different logos, and then you go out and get one. Earlier in my life, when I was, just earlier in my life, I used to every year. Okay, they always put out a T-shirt. They still do it, but now it's just gotten too expensive. I think the reason I stopped doing it was just this is getting ridiculous. All right, but every year for the Final Four, from probably the time I was 8 years old to the time I was 20 years old, okay, I would get the Final Four T-shirt. So I would wait until the Final Four was decided, and then as soon as the Final Four was decided, they put out T-shirts, and they have the 4 logos of the teams, and then the NCAA kind of banner in the center, and you see the 4 teams. And it was just really cool, going back and wearing those shirts and remembering, oh, yeah, that year was those 4 teams. That year was those 4 teams, because you forget them. It's hard to remember them sometimes over all the years. It all kind of blends together. I mean, someone was asking me the other day, wasn't it 4 number 1s that made it to the Final Four last year? I was like, yeah, I think you're right about that. Or was it 3? And then I had to go back and look, and it was all 4 number 1s that made it to the Final Four last year. Remember Jay Billis picked it. Everybody was making fun of him. Come on, Billis, Chalk City. That's wrong?
Unlikely, right?
He ended up getting it. Okay, big deal. Anyway, but I love collecting logos, especially ones that that no one would know other than those people. So you get this T-shirt, you get this hat. One day you wander around down in Charlotte, or you're not even in Charlotte, you're in Florida, or you're in California or something, and you bump into somebody and hey, Royals, baby, and you're like, yeah, connection.
But here's the thing, I'm with Mike here. Again, the eyebrow action here, the ear isn't quite lion. Now, maybe they're trying to overcompensate because of the crown. Probably. They have to shove the crown somewhere. But yeah, I'm getting a different cat vibes than lion. I mean, I can see that it's lions if I just give it a quick glance. Yeah. I assume it's very lion-ly, but eyebrow, ear, there's some questionable things here.
Listen, I know Simba, and that is no Simba, okay? Cool. I know Mufasa. That does not look like Mufasa, all right?
There's no mane on this.
No, no. There's mutton chops. Look what's going on here on the side. We got a little mutton chop action happening here.
Come on.
Yeah. It's an interestingly designed logo, but I do
Quite.
like the way they built it into the Q. That's kind of cool. I kind of dig it. So there you go. Root for the Royals, baby. Root for the Royals. All right, Mike. Anything else going on in Charlotte that we should be aware of? Anything, what you've been up to, man? Give us a little quick Mike Lissette update and what's going on in the world of Charlotte. The Panthers, a really good, it looks like they did pretty well in free agency. We were talking with our NFL insider, Matt Lombardo, just a day or two ago, and he was talking about he liked what they did almost as much as any team, just based on the particular players they got. Give me a sense. What's going on down there in Charlotte?
I mean, honestly, the big story going on right now in Charlotte is the Hornets. I'm not sure how big of an NBA following you guys got, but it has been a marvelous turnaround by the team. Con Kniffel, when they drafted him, everybody thought it was a safe pick and that he wasn't going to set the world on fire. He was going to be a good Steve Kerr spot up shooter type guy, and he has surprised everybody and surpassed everybody's expectations. With Cooper Flagg dealing with health problems, he's likely going to be the rookie of the year. And Charlotte's in the play-in game, which, again, to people of certain NBA cities where making the playoffs is not anything special, it's sort of what's expected. This has been amazing. The crowds at Hornet games have been interesting. I'm actually, all full disclosure, I'm actually thinking about writing a book about this, just how exciting it's been and how unexpected it's been with all the crazy things that have happened. There was a big fight with the Pistons this year that made national news. It's been a wild time for Charlotte. And again, they're 10th. They've got a healthy lead on Milwaukee, as you see right now. But if all goes well, there's going to be postseason basketball here in Charlotte for the first time in quite some time.
Yes, they have, I think I have it here, a 6.5 game lead over Milwaukee. So very significant with, what do we got? A little less than a month to play. So,
and is Jordan, Charlotte was the Jordan owned team, correct? Am I wrong about that?
They were.
Yeah.
Is he involved at all anymore or no? Did he back out of that?
Still a minority owner, and he's the alternate governor. So he represents the sometimes at league meetings, but for the most part, he is not really involved.
Okay.
Rick Schnall and Gabe Plotkin pretty much all but removed all the Jumpman signages from around the arena. There used to be a big Jumpman logo the second you walked in the employee entrance. And then there used to be a Jumpman luxury box that Jordan used to hang out in all the time. And they completely repainted it. The arena's redone. They've made it their own. And they're really nice guys, basketball guys that have hired some good people that have made some good decisions. They traded for Kobe White at the trade deadline. He had a big night last night against Miami, scoring in 21. There's a lot. There's the future here in Charlotte for the Hornets is very exciting, and it's been a complete turnaround because as of a couple months ago in January, everyone thought it's just a matter of time before they get rid of LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges, and now we're in uncharted territory with this club.
Now, Mike, before you go, you are sitting with, as you know, I'm a diehard Knick fan. Boy Green is a diehard Celtics fan. So we don't get along very well at all when it comes to pro basketball. And since you are a diehard Bulls fan, thank God they're not in the equation. So you can actually be an objective guy here. So you just saw it. If you want to throw it back up, you can, Boy Green. Eastern Conference. There it is. These are the teams that if we were playing today would be in the playoffs, and this is where they'd be seeded. Okay, you can see the Knicks just a mere game now behind your little Celtics there, Boy Green. This thing's getting a little dicey. I'd like to have that home court over the Celtics. Maybe end up in that 2 seed. I don't think it's in the cards unless Detroit falls apart here. That either one of those two teams is going to get the number 1 overall seed, although it's still mathematically doable.
Sure.
Detroit's been rock solid, so they'll probably get the number 1 overall seed. But I'd like to have home court. Not that we can go into Boston and beat them like we did last year. We'll just do it all over again. Same old. Jason Tatum or not, who cares? But Mike, seriously, as a guy that has some NBA stuff, you love to play basketball. I think it's your favorite sport to play outside of getting in wrestling matches with professional wrestlers. I was going to ask you earlier, have you ever actually fought B. Brian Blair? Because that's quite possible in your crazy wrestling career that you actually tussled with that guy. But we'll stay away from the wrestling for now. You already got your reference in there. I saw you snuck in a Chicago Bulls reference earlier in the conversation. Can't get through a conversation with you without that. So no Bulls in the equation. Who do you like in the East and why?
Pistons. Cade Cunningham is electric. He's being my pick for MVP this year. They're a team that has a little bit of bully in him, and I like it. I mean, sometimes it's borderline and not cool, but I think they're a team that if you're going to have to beat them, you're going to have to, punish it out of them. They're not going to roll over quietly. They're a team that scares me. Miami, even though they're a 7th seed right now, they're a team that scares me when they're locked on. And obviously you saw what happens when Bam is locked on. Bad things can happen to the opposition. But out of the East, I have Detroit coming out there, and out of the West, I know Oklahoma City is the number 1 seed right now. But if the Spurs can put things together on a nightly basis, there's no way anybody could compete with their matchup problems that they create. Victor Wembanyama is just, you can switch him, you can play underneath him, you can play right over the top of picks, and he will find ways to score or at least set up his teammates. Those are the 2 most dangerous teams I have in the NBA right now.
Yeah. Oklahoma City's winning the title, Mike. I'm sorry to break it to you. They're a runaway. They're going to not only win the West, they're going to win the whole thing.
Okay.
I, as much as I respect the Pistons because they have absolutely manhandled my Knicks. I think we've played 3 times. We might play one more time. Crushed us 3 games. I mean, it's just been a joke, a laughable thing. I mean, I have watched the NBA for too many years, and experience matters. Playoff experience matters. And I know they got a little taste last year, but the Knicks took them out. I'm sure that bitter pill is sitting, in their minds and will probably motivate them a little bit this year. But I still think the Knicks and their roster they've constructed, the Celtics and what they are now, especially with Tatum back in the fold, they're becoming whole, And during this whole Tatum thing, they went out and found some guys. I don't even know what trees they were shaking. We ought to get them to hire the next Syracuse coach. They found a bunch of players who are not just serviceable guys. These are guys that are contributing mightily for this Celtics team in their role. So they have been master crafters forever, which is why they have more championships than anybody else. In finding players, in turning mediocre players into great players, developing players. So I just don't see a world where the Pistons get past both the Knicks and the Lakers, Knicks and the Celtics, and or both of them. It's just they're just not ready to take that step. Mike Cunningham's amazing, but that's it, man. Like you get past him offensively, and if you shut him down, where they go? Where they going? They don't have a second, a third, a fourth option that can fill it up for night.
Oklahoma ready last year?
What's that?
Did you think Oklahoma City was ready last year?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay.
And I think they're now more than ready. They haven't even been hold this year, and they'll be right for the playoffs. I mean, he'd have to go. If SGA gets hurt, then all bets are off. Of course, any big player gets hurt, all bets are off. But given good health, as my old friend Bud Pollock would always say, given good health, I don't see a world where OKC loses to anybody, in the West or. And I know they've had some issues during the regular season with the Spurs, but they haven't been whole. Those games, the regular season games. Don't be impressed by Detroit's regular season record. It's wonderful to have a season like that. It doesn't mean jack in the playoffs, Mike. You're going to learn this the hard way. I'm going to teach you the old man lesson. A veteran lesson is about to get taught by you. It will not be Detroit. It will be the Celtics or the Knicks. Maybe even Cleveland, but it will not be Detroit.
I'll come back on if you invite me on and do a victory lap.
All right. We shall have you back on, Mr. Basketball Bulls man, wrestler extraordinaire.
Hey, call me the day after WrestleMania. Come on too. We can talk about that.
Yeah. We got a little taste for that. Do you know who Joey Carney is? Joey Carney?
No.
Wrestling guy extraordinaire. Well, look him up, Mike. He's a YouTuber. You need to. I hate to say. I know you're a TV guy. You're a traditional media guy. I once lived in that world too, but I have now spread my wings. You need to spread your wings a little, Mike. All right. Just live and breathe in this YouTube world a little bit. I know you're a subscriber to our channel, and we thank you for that. You can do more. Hit the little join button. You can support the channel, Mike. Imagine that, supporting your friends, by clicking on that right there and clicking join. And now you could be a member and get some, exclusive shorts and some props, maybe get a discount on some merch if you climb up the ladder a little bit. Come on, you're a big TV guy. You can afford this stuff. All right, little membership, support the cause, support the team. We love you for that as well. Okay, I want you to live and breathe in this YouTube digital world a little bit because I'm kind of finding it, even as an old schooler, all right, somewhat fascinating. It's really breathing some life into this old body, so to speak. So just a little pep in your step. YouTube, that's the answer, Mike. Digital world, get involved, buddy. Right. We thank you for your time, brother. Always great to catch up with you. Thank you for being so generous with your time. And we'll check back in when that Pistons thing goes down. Okay.
Have a good one, right?
Coming back on when they go down. They're going down. There's no question in my mind. Pistons going down. You think they can win the East, Boy Green? Think they can pull it off?
I do not.
I don't.
Which again, I think
their regular season has been remarkable. But
sure,
it's the regular season. it just doesn't mean as much.
Sometimes you don't know what you just don't know. There's an invincibility with teams like this that pop up over the years where like they're on the scene and they're here. And there's a sense of invincibility until you get punched in the face. You're young, you don't know any better. So like you say, we're number one. We can beat the Celtics, we can beat the Knicks, we can beat any of these teams. And then you have to see. But I just think there's something to championship medal. There's something to playoff experience. And when you get into that, that octagon and it's one of you is walking in, one of you is walking out. I don't know. I'm putting my money on the experienced teams over Detroit, but hey, maybe they'll surprise.
Yeah. Look, we're overdue for a little sponsor break here. Today's video presented by our friends at Northeast Roofing Professionals, NERPCNY.com. Northeast Roofing, taking care of roofs in the DeWitt and Fayetteville areas specifically, and in the surrounding areas near there. Great professional. They do both shingle roofs and metal roofs as well. And today's video is brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive. Now, 2 locations in Liverpool. The integrity and everything, guys. I mean, these guys are phenomenal. They take care of your car. They're very, very trustworthy. It's that rare combination that everybody wants in a mechanic. So if you don't have a mechanic and you live here in Central New York, go see our friends at Bayberry today. You won't regret it. 2 locations now, so more appointments, as they say, available. All right, so let's check in with our 2 sponsors. We'll come back a little bit more to go in the show before me and Boy Green close things out. Stick around. Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. Pop that subscribe while you got a sec.
Integrity is a word that some people just throw around in life. But at Bayberry Automotive, integrity is everything. Integrity of their mechanics, who are all experienced and certified. Integrity in the work they perform, with nothing but 5-star reviews from satisfied customers on Google. Integrity that goes along with family. A family-run business that treats you like one of their own. Integrity in everything. Bayberry Automotive. BayberryAutomotive.com.
Located on Route 57 across from Bayberry Plaza, the premier choice for auto repair in Liverpool.
Finding the right local roofing company can be tricky. You don't want to hire the wrong roofers, or you could end up spending a fortune on repairs. The pros at Northeast Roofing Professionals can ensure your home is protected by a strong and sturdy roof. Locally owned and operated, over 30 years experience, free estimates, and competitively priced. Don't settle for an inexperienced roofing contractor. Turn to Northeast Roofing Professionals. Discounts for military and first responders. Reach out and let them put a sturdy roof over your head. NERPCNY.com. NERPCNY.com.
Yeah, and you see one of those cool metal roofs there in that final shot there, man. Man, those things are awesome. Last, I think, over 30 years, they say those metal roofs last. So, if you're going to make an investment in your house, not a bad one to make. Or if you're having a house built, you might want to consider a metal roof. Our friends at NERPCNY.com, Northeast Roofing Professionals. Back with Boy Green.
Yeah.
Looks like you got something to say, Boy Green. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a real quick story on roofing. I was out there with my neighbor this week. And it was this week, last week, because it's sort of been fluctuating. We're in March, which is sort of troublesome. We had a 60-degree day somewhere here the last 2 weeks.
We had a 70-degree day.
Oh, see, you got 70. Great.
Yeah,
And,
down here we got 70. Yep.
And I was like, oh, wow, this is great. And, she was looking at our roof, our neighbor, not like looking at it, like studying it. We were both observing both of our roofs. And we were like, man, there's so many people around the neighborhood that like try to go a cheap way, and you pay some random person to go up there and do stuff. Yeah. And that's where you could get into a lot of trouble when you don't get a professional. And long story short, we both sort of reached the conclusion that like, man, you just have to get a professional. You just got to get someone that knows what they're doing, can assess the situation. And of course, I was just seeing that commercial, all the beautiful options that are available. But so many people try to, there's certain things in life, Lurch, that you just can't cheap. You can't cheap out on.
I know. A roof is one of them. You're absolutely right.
A roof is one of them. There's a lot of things in life that you can attempt to try to skirt by in a lesser way, but roof, it's your shelter, it's your home. It protects you and your family. And, it's a long-term investment as well for your home. So, we're just talking about that with my neighbors. So I knew eventually, I'd tell that story with the Northeast Roofing Professionals being a presenting sponsor for our programs, which we're very appreciative for. And no, it's just super important. Again, professionals.
Yeah, I'm going to need one, I think, in the next 2-3 years, a new roof. And you get this, like, I'm already saving up for it. Like,
you have to, right?
They're not cheap, and you want, somebody who really knows what they're doing, doing your roof, because then you'll get, 20 plus years out of it. You'll get at least 15. You probably get 20 plus years if you have the right people do it. And, that's a good way to go. And that's not something you want to be invested in every 10 years, or less, or having leaks,
Yeah.
I mean, we have very radical weather here in central New York, as you know.
Yeah.
You live right up on the lake.
Oh,
so
God,
you get it even worse than I do. I'm about 45 minutes south of Paul. But it's crazy. The greater central New York, Syracuse region is, it's snowing one day, it's hailing the next day. It's, you got winds, you got a little of everything. We get plenty of rain. So it's, you need, your home's important, man. Having a good shelter is important. So roof, it starts with the roof. So go see our friends. NERPCNY.com, Northeast Roofing Professionals. Great guys. Really appreciate them being our presenting sponsor. All right. Boy Green, we got a big show tonight. I want to make sure we mention that to people before we get out of here today. Survivor season 50. We have made it to episode 3. So another elimination coming tonight.
Actually, Lurch, aren't we on episode 4 tonight?
4? Are we at 4 already? You're right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
you're right. We're at episode 4 already. It's flying by.
Yeah.
My wife asked me this morning. I was down getting a cup of coffee, getting the morning started. She's like, "You got Survivor tonight?" I was like, "Yep." Got another one. It's Wednesday night. Got Survivor. So we do a live recap show that talks about all things Survivor right after the show ends, basically. Brett LaBelle from the Millennials versus Gen X season, who made it all the way to the Final 4 during his season, has immense experience living and breathing on the island. Back when they were doing it, and it was 39 days instead of what is it, 26 now, right?
It's 26. Yeah.
So 13 less days. Brett was out there for almost all of 39
days. A third of a chunk. That's a large chunk.
That's huge when you don't have much food and you don't have much shelter. They build a shelter, but really it's not like NERP CNY's coming in and putting up their roof.
No, I don't believe so.
So it's like a tarp and some bamboo. And then when the rain's coming in sideways, it doesn't matter. It's landed on you.
That's
so
true.
Not much to do there. So Brett will join us as he does for all of our recap shows. And we break down the episodes. We did a fantasy draft a couple of weeks ago, and we each picked 4 survivors. And so far, so good, as they say. There have been, I think, how many players? 3 players eliminated because we had the injury to Kyle plus 2 eliminations, right, Boy Green? So 3 players.
It would have to be 4, right? Because 2 went out on episode 1, 1 went out on episode 2, 1 went up on episode 3.
So 4 players are gone.
Yep.
4 players are gone, and yet you look at our draft right there. You see
intact.
The Manchild's players there. You see Brett LaBelle. You'd see a little, line through the player.
Yeah. I will have a very clear. I will update it.
Particularly when I lose players, by putting a red line, a bold red line right through a player, Xing them off the list.
Sure.
So, but all 3 of us right now, we each pick 4 players, all still have all 4 players in play. Now, some are a little bit more peril at the moment than others.
That's true.
Admittedly so. But, people can get in and out of peril on Survivor very, very quickly. So if you love the TV show Survivor, you should watch it tonight and then pop in. And we will, again, you go to @MC Show Digital and we'll have a direct link there to pop in.
It's already up. It's already live in our YouTube. If you go to our YouTube page, you go to the live channel, you will see this graphic. To recap episode 4. Now you will see that it says basically Survivor episode 4 recap : with nothing else. Once the episode happens, I will fill it in with, whoa, this crazy thing happened. I try to avoid spoilers. I don't say who got voted out. So I try to avoid that from headlines for people that may not have caught up with the episode, but there'll be interesting things that happen. A beef between a couple of Survivor players, maybe a viral moment. Jeff Probst's rapping last week made it into the headline. So it depends. And just to note, this is the largest fantasy draft we've ever had. We normally only draft 3 players, but because we had the largest cast that Survivor has ever put out there in terms of 24 players, it only made sense to increase our pool. And because this is such a, I don't know how it is for you, Lurch. I know we get Brett's thoughts, former castaway himself, on every. I've not been more excited for a Survivor season than I am right now. There's nostalgia. There's the coolness of the new era to me. I'm on the edge of my seat the entire episode. I'm on the edge of my seat right now, and we're like 12 hours or whatever it is away, 8-9 hours away from the episode tonight. It's just so cool seeing these things interact. It's almost like, we were talking about basketball earlier, and he's a Mike Lissette's a Chicago Bulls fan, and we're talking about Michael Jordan in the 90s. A lot of people say, let's get Michael Jordan in the 90s and then LeBron James right now and see how would they compete against each other. Yeah. Well, we're getting that on season 50. We're getting these two things just smack dab into each other. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm with Brett. I think there were a few players that I wish weren't cast in this, but you also don't know every little nuance of, what players were actually asked and turned it down. What were the reasonings and the rationale? They're always trying to balance the cast in some way as well. But we do have some really great Titanic players still on this season. I mean, the return of Coach is awesome, and I know you ended up drafting him.
I love
Coach. About drafting him number 1, and I didn't do it.
I
could have because I love him to death. Rick Devon's back for redemption, perhaps. Yeah. I mean, he's already up to his old antics. There are some really, really phenomenal players on this cast. Mike White, who everybody knows is the writer, and I think he's the producer also of White Lotus. You'll love this. Okay. I mean, you talk about, sometimes you just don't have time to get around to things.
Yeah.
Well, I finally got around to White Lotus, and I actually binge watched season 1. So I still have it's 3 seasons out right now, and I understand there's going to be a 4th.
Yes.
So
in France,
I binge watched season 1. Oh my God. I really didn't, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I didn't, I've read a little about the show. I knew that Mike White was obviously highly involved, and this is a great success story for him.
Yes.
Because of his ties to Survivor,
Yeah.
Like I said, we've talked about him as Mr. Schneebly back in School of Rock. I remember him in School of Rock.
Sure.
Right. He was the guy that Jack Black, snuck as his
roommate.
Pretended to be him in order to have a job. Okay.
Right.
And then he turns it into a School of Rock. Very cool. So Mike White is in that movie very prominently. He plays a prominent character in that movie. But I guess his passion or his love has always been to write, acting, he's loved to write.
He's written himself into a couple of roles, but
yes,
it's mostly behind the scenes stuff. Right.
Yeah. But he is, he wrote this White Lotus, and it's become a phenomenal hit.
Oh my God.
And it is. I just didn't know what I was in for. I didn't know a lot about it. I know it's at a resort, and there's lots of cool celebrities and stuff in there, and yada yada yada. But other than that, I thought it was like gonna be a combination of like comedy and and I don't know, some soap opera-y like drama. I wasn't quite sure. I just went in with a weird vision, with really not a very defined vision, because I hadn't really read about it.
Right.
And then I went in and watched it. I was like, what in the world? I mean, it's dark. It's very dark, and it's mean spirited at times. It's really like, it's like, just to use a quick example, I don't want to get into in-depth White Lotus here, but you have that massage therapist lady who's like this sweet lady,
yes, the Resort Island. I'm trying to remember, because I've seen them all in real time. So now I'm trying to go back to which season was which. So now I'm hearing what you're saying. So
she's this nice lady who runs the spa, and she's like very like earthy and wants good for people. And then she gets caught up in this twisted web, with these insane people who are like really, really like, okay. A little much. Glad none of them are my friends. Glad I don't associate with people like this. And then of course you have the concierge or whatever the front man, right? Armand, who is he just
what a show.
He starts as this nice friendly resort guy, and then he becomes this evil dark dude, and he's driven to craziness. It's an intense show.
Shout out to R&R Party. It's the Dark Love Boat.
It's the Dark Love Boat. Yeah,
it's a good way to put it.
That's not bad.
It's captivating. But Lurch, I just have to. You're only through season 1.
Yes.
Just have an open mind. That's all I'm gonna.
It's getting worse, huh? It's getting worse.
There's just. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know how to categorize myself. I'm not sure. Maybe I need a doctor to do that. I don't know what kind of personality or all these different things I am, or my beliefs, or what I normally am. But this show just takes you in some weird places that me personally, I've never been in these scenarios or situations, but I suspend disbelief at the door, and I just come in with a very open
immersing
mind.
in a new world.
Immersing. That's a great way to put it. You're immersing yourself in this wild world. And again, they just do some, I couldn't even spoil it because there's just so much weird, but it's compelling. Damn it. It's compelling. So shout out to Mike White.
Have you taken a peek at all at Your Honor, which is a show
on
Netflix?
No.
So I'm dabbling in that right now, and I think
Okay.
I'm going to bail. Like
Bail?
yeah, it's
I'm a commitment guy. It's really hard for me to bail.
I
If
am
I commit,
too.
it has to be
No,
really bad for me to stop.
I don't know. It's given me the willies. Like it's so dark and so twisted that it's given me the like. I'm like, oh, gosh, no. Like, and the characters all do the wrong things. You know,
Sure.
they walk into trouble instead of walking out of it. Instead of figuring
Yes.
a way around it, they go the wrong direction. And
Yeah.
Bryan Cranston is the star of it. He's
Oh,
the
I
judge.
love Bryan Cranston.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give it away. I just leave it out there. But for anybody that's seen or is into Your Honor, I'm just like, I don't know. Can I do this? And I think there's 2 full seasons. I'm about 2/3 of the way through
Okay.
season 1, and I'm like, I don't know if I could keep doing
And you
this.
said this is on Netflix?
Yeah, it's Netflix.
And what's it called?
Your Honor. Your
Okay,
Honor.
all right.
Yeah,
I love Bryan
he plays a
Cranston.
judge.
So.
He plays a judge. Yeah. Well,
Interesting.
Cranston obviously has been in some dark things.
Oh, he has, but he's also been in light things like Malcolm in the Middle as a silly
right.
dad
I
with
Yeah.
whitey tighties. Like I don't know. He's hey, very versatile. Lurch,
Breaking Bad. I mean, and what he did in that show is,
it's crazy.
That's epic.
Now,
That's epic.
Lurch, I normally don't break this fourth wall, but take a peek at the private chat. There's an opportunity here
Oh, okay.
to potentially call an audible at the line of scrimmage here. It is up to you whether or
Let's
not
do
you
it.
want.
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
it. We're going to talk to him anyway, so let's do it. So
Okay.
break the fourth wall, but yes, absolutely. Let's do it. I can get away from a little of this dark talk anyway.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
And we do have our happy joy Survivor thing to get to tonight. So I'm looking forward to our Survivor shows. I really do. I look forward to them. I look forward to breaking down the episodes. Brett's always entertaining. He has definitely a point of view when it comes to Survivor,
does,
which
yeah.
I think always makes it interesting how he sees Survivor, because not only was he on the island and participated in that way, but he is part of the Survivor community. He goes to the reunions. He's been to weddings and funerals and all kinds of things with friends of his through the Survivor community. I mean, that is, even though it's 50 seasons of people, a very close, group of people. And
Tight
Brett
knit,
is highly
very much.
involved in that. And so it is
Yeah.
fascinating to see, because he's talking about, in some cases, people he knows, people he's met, people whose wedding he went to. And
Yeah.
he's having to chime in and criticize and look at it. And these are all returning players. So this is an even tougher one for him, because he's dealing with people.
He rubs
that
elbows
has
at these
met.
parties, right?
Yeah. So he's towing that difficult line of, I don't want to say something too insulting, but by the same token, what the heck's going on over here? And Brett does tend to kind of operate without a filter, to be honest with you, even though he's
He
trying to have a filter.
definitely does.
He's a cop. I don't think, he's a real life cop.
Oh no, he is real. I've
And
seen
he
him at the
just,
office before. Yeah,
He speaks his mind, and he's got, as they say, cop's eyes. He's got cop's
he
eyes.
does.
He
does have that.
he's got that interesting thing to him, why he's been such a terrific, co-host with us
Sure.
for this whole thing. So it's fascinating.
Which-
So tune in tonight, folks. If you
Right.
do like Survivor, or even if you don't try it, give it a try. Watch the episode and then see what we have to say about it. See if you enjoy the show. We put on a little ambient lighting and we have some fun.
Yes.
And Brett's always entertaining. So entertaining, engaging as always. So
And two things here. One, I've got a surprise for later. For our Survivor thing, something happened Survivor wise, which we could get into later. And also shout out to see R&R saying BG season 52. They do record seasons back to back. 51 and 52 is set to record here over the next couple of months. I've applied. I'm in the conversation potentially. Yes. We'll see what happens. I mean, that would be cool. I mean, I've been begging to get on the island. Lurch wants to go nowhere near the island, so we'll see where that goes.
All right. You want to set up our guest, but we won't bring him in. We'll take a quick
Yes.
30-second break and then we'll come in clean. But you want to set up our guest before we go out? Tease us going out.
Yes, of course. So, yeah, we're calling an audible at the line of scrimmage here. I love this in the live digital world, baby. We have a special guest that joins us every single week, and he is set to join us here. We're going to do it live. Normally, you guys see this conversation pre-recorded, but we will do this interview live. We will come out clean. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and have this guest on. And then this will be uploaded, this interview that's about to happen, separately as its own piece. So for those that normally tune in, you will get it the same normal way. For people that are tuning in live, the couple hundred people in the room, you'll get a nice treat of a very special guest joining us next, Lurch.
Okay, you're not even giving names. Okay.
Well,
all right.
it's a big tease.
Right. Quick break from our friends at Sharkies, and we're back. Special guest joins us us. We'll get away from this NCAA tournament talk and talk some football. I'm looking forward to that. We'll be right back.
If you plan on throwing a party, whether it's a wedding, clam bake, birthday party, graduation party, a party, company picnic, oh, and did I mention clam bake? Sharky's is your party headquarters with 3 indoor options and a plethora of outdoor options as well. All in a park-like setting with a big stage and over 7,000 square feet of covered pavilion. So rain or shine, we've got you covered. Book your next party now. Go to Sharky'sBanquets.com. Sharky's in Liverpool, making parties historic every single year.
Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital. Our handle, please hit the like button and, of course, subscribe. It is time now to talk Jets football. Hey, you see the green, Boy Green. Very good. I'm glad you moved. I wasn't sure if you're going to switch the template. You did. Very fast, very quick. We bring in our guy who talks Jets with us every week. This week, he joins us live. The one, the only Jake Asman from the Jake Asman Show and ESPN New York, where he was doing a little filling in for Michael Kay this week, I saw. How you doing, Jake?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. And yeah, was in for Kay yesterday. He was getting hammered at the St. Patrick's Day parade, apparently. I made that up, but we could go with it. Why not?
You'll never think of Michael Kay the same after I told you that story.
At some point, I need to talk to him about that next time I see him in person, because that is just an unbelievable tale.
All these years later. I mean,
I hope so.
Remember that. I don't
Jake,
know.
I'm looking forward to you having that conversation and then you joining us to say, hey, here's what happened.
Jake, please, the names need to be protected. Don't put the names in there to keep the innocent protected. I was a nobody back then. I mean, I wasn't even doing media back then. So,
but yeah, get the deets, Jake. That's what we need. We need the deets. We need the other side of the story. Was Michael Kay shivering in his boots? That's what we need to know.
Shivering in his boots, but that was an awkward moment to say the least. I wonder if he does remember it. I remember it.
We'll find out.
Well, that's for sure. Jake, let's dive in on some New York Jets activity. Darren Muji has been absolutely busy. He tied Howie Roseman. Shout out to Rich Samiti for the stat. He has tied Howie Roseman for the most player trade since. Obviously, Howie Roseman's had the job a lot longer than Muji. So it's since Muji has taken over in that span of time, they're now tied. Now, we will see what happens here, Jake, because, Howie's got A.J. Brown in his back pocket, so he has perhaps at least another deal to make. Speaking of wide receivers, maybe the Jets can strike their own trade, and Muji could get a quick edge, perhaps, on Roseman in this race for all the moves. What job do you make of Darren Muji? We're a little over a year on the job here for the old Moodster. What do you make of what he's been able to do?
I think he's done a nice job given the limitations he's clearly dealing with because of the situation the Jets are in, coming off a 3-win season, having, no clear path to like a long-term answer at quarterback necessarily. And it's not the most attractive place to play. You got a lame duck coaching staff potentially that needs to win. Otherwise jobs could be lost. So I think he's done really well along the margins. I think he's made some smart, calculated moves. He's helped raise the floor of what the Jets are. I still don't know really what their ceiling is necessarily, but I think he's done a nice job. I think it's important to acknowledge that and also not make the mistake many Jet fans made with Joe Douglas. Oh, Douglas could do no wrong. JD, he's the best. Well, at the end of the day, Douglas whiffed badly on quarterback, and when he got a chance to hire his coach, it didn't work with Robert Saleh either. So we'll see what the long-term, projection is for Darren Muji. But if he's here a year from now and Glenn's not, I wouldn't be totally surprised. But the judging of Darren Muji, I think we could be encouraged, but we still have to say it's a big incomplete because he hasn't invested in quarterback yet. He hasn't gone out there and used these 8 premium assets, if you count second-round picks with the first-round picks that they have over the next 2 drafts.
Jake, there's always interesting scuttlebutt in the New York media. After all, there are so many people in the New York media chiming in on all different things and all different teams. And so I did see that those comments made on his podcast by Mike Francesa about the pecking order, dare I say, for the Jets. And that, Francesa has a source, take him at his word, that says basically that Muji is in charge. It's not Aaron Glenn that's in charge, and that Muji is the one giving the marching orders. So give me your take on that whole thing. I know you replayed the clip on your show. I caught that as well. Give me your thoughts about what is actually going on at One Jets Drive.
Yeah, we have an old-fashioned source-off going on between Francesa's source and then Connor Hughes of SNY reporting that everything Mike said is not true. So, I mean, look, I do think just connecting the dots, Darren Muji's in better standing with the organization than Glenn. Glenn is coming off a 3-win season. He fired 9 of 21 assistants, including both coordinators. I think if you listen back to the end of season presser, it felt like there was a shift in the dynamic. I remember several beat reporters who were there noted that as well. And I remember noting it on my show, watching it live. Then you fast forward to the combine, and Glenn specifically mentioned Muji being a part of the process to help hire some of these coaches, which I thought was notable because a year ago, Glenn basically said he did it all himself. These were his hires. So I don't know if Mike's source is accurate, that they're not all buddy-buddy behind the scenes. I have no idea. I think some of the things Mike was saying I had heard different, like Lance Newmark, the Jets thought Glenn wanted to work with Newmark, I had heard. And when Glenn said, well, I actually would prefer to work with Darren Muji, then they pivoted. Mike made it sound like Glenn recommended Newmark and they didn't think he was experienced enough, so they went with Muji. But Muji has, you could argue, even less experience than Newmark does. So not everything Francesa said, I think, jived with what had been out there previously. But I don't think Mike just made this up. I think someone clearly told him this. I just wonder what's actually true, what's not. But I think at the end of the day, if you just look at the Jets' history, you look at what the perception is of both guys, one guy I think is clearly on the hot seat, whereas the other, I think if Muji has a good draft, there's a chance that they don't win enough games. He's here and Glenn's not, and Muji's part of the coaching search a year from now.
Jake, when we're live, anything can happen. Johnny Boy sent in a super chat saying, can Jake say, quote, I love AG and his coaching style, end quote?
I mean, I could say it, but I'd be lying. You know, I don't want to lie to the Manchild with Boy Green digital audience. Come on.
Right. That's true. So, Johnny Boy, thank you very much for the attempt, but not so much.
Nice try, Johnny. Nice try.
Yeah, you know, which I can respect. Well, how about this? I'll adjust Johnny Boy's very declarative request, like this is a cameo appearance, for God's sakes, for Jake Asman, and turn it into this. Aaron Glenn calling the defense this year versus the other options that were on the table. How do you feel about it?
The question is Aaron Glenn versus the other options on the table?
Basically, yeah. So Aaron Glenn is now going to call the defense for the Jets this year. And then obviously that's different. That did not happen last year. Versus the options, they interviewed a gajillion guys for that position. And now we sort of see what's the vision, I assume. AG, there's been a lot of word that he would have final say on roster decisions. And with him calling plays and seeing what he did on defense, Demario Davis, David Onyemata, Joseph Asai, go through all the list of guys, plus obviously the draft to come. How do you feel about AG calling the defense versus anyone else that could have been hired, and sort of the vision that you see? It's free agency. There's still more moves to be made, but sort of how you feel about it from that perspective.
Well, if it was up to me, and I could get any one of the people they spoke to, Jim Leonard would have been my choice, but I don't think Jim Leonard's picking the Jets over the Bills, as it turned out to be the case, right? So that wasn't going to happen. I do think I'd rather have Glenn be the play caller than Wink Martindale. Like, I have no issue with Glenn being the play caller. I think it's the best chance for him to prove he could be a head coach, if he could save his job, if he could get the Jet defense to actually be a reason why they're winning some games this year. And they don't win a ton of games because, look, the offense has limitations with 36-year-old Geno Smith as the bridge quarterback. That's more understandable, but the defense needs to be fixed. They've invested a lot in that unit. They're in all likelihood going to invest the number 2 pick into a premium defensive player. So the defense has to be a lot better. And Glenn saying what he said at the combine just put the target on him even more. Play calling is my superpower. Well, if that's the case, how come at no point did you step in and take over when the defense was losing you game after game every week and you started 0-7? So now it's on him. And I think the roster, while not perfect, I think it's in a place where it's good enough to properly evaluate once and for all who Aaron Glenn is as a head coach. And if he can't win, he's not going to be here, nor should he be.
Well, Jake, we go down this draft road every year, and plenty of teams are out there putting up smoke screens, as they say, trying to distract, trying to get teams to think they're going one way so that they can go the other way, because it gets tricky if you want a particular player or you're really hoping for someone. So there's been a lot of scuttlebutt in the last week about teams clamoring for Jeremiah Love, and that perhaps the Titans might want to take him at 4. So if you want to get in front of the Titans, you better get to 3 or 2, which is obviously one of the spots where the Jets are sticking. What is your thought? Do you think there's any there to this rumor about Love really jumping really towards the very top of the draft here?
Yeah, I think it'd be a bit of a surprise if he went that high, just based on position value, right? To me, if the Jets could find anyone who wants to actually come up for Jeremiah Love, I'm all for it, because get as much assets as possible. But I don't know. I'd be a little surprised if he goes that high, which some of the reports have said it's now in the cards here. Again, anything can happen. It's a weird draft. You don't have a ton of quarterbacks who are going to go early. Doesn't feel like the receivers are as good as some of the other stud receivers we've had in previous classes. So guys get inflated at non-premium positions, but I'd be a little surprised.
Jake, I read this nugget from Rich Cimini. I believe it was in a column that was posted this morning, that the low-cost trade for Geno Smith reinforces the belief that the Jets will wait for the 2027 NFL draft to find their long-term solution at quarterback, sans them being blown away by Ty Simpson somewhere in the next 5 weeks. That is his belief. Is that the right belief to have based on the Geno Smith acquisition?
Yeah, I think so. I think even if they didn't bring in Geno and they brought in a different bridge, I don't think they're taking a quarterback in the first round. I think if they were to take one, it would only be Ty Simpson. I just find it hard to believe they would take him at pick 16 when he's made 15 career starts. I would have no issue if they drafted Ty in round 2 with pick 33, but even that, I'm not totally confident in. I know people just say, well, he won't be there. I don't know about that. I think there is a chance he is. I mean, tell me which team is taking Ty Simpson. Like, I don't think it's going to be Arizona at 3. I don't think it's Miami at 11. I don't think it's the Steelers at 21. I don't think it's going to be the Rams. Like, you really struggle to find a team unless someone trades back in to round 1. So I think the Ty debate will end up being, do the Jets pull the trigger at 33 when it's all said and done?
Jake, I'm a big fan and have been for years of Mel Kiper's. What he has done, he created the draft in a lot of ways. He created the spectacle that is the draft. I mean, if we as broadcasters can't respect that, you can't respect anything about the NFL draft. So I always love him. He's not always the most accurate, and that's fine. And he has his ideas. So he just put out a mock. I'm sure you're aware of it. He had the Jets picking Ty Simpson at number 17, which obviously
16.
got a buzz. 16, thank you. Got a buzz out of the New York media and anybody that covers the Jets. So let's talk about Simpson for a minute, because he is an interesting name in this draft. And Kiper is a respected guy. Give me your thoughts. I mean, is Kiper, when it comes to draft, I know you respect Kiper. Is Kiper your guy, or do you have a go-to guy even when it comes to accuracy in the draft? I'm just curious whether you have somebody or not.
Yeah, so I respect the hell out of Mel. I think what he's done, I mean, you said it best. He's created what the draft has become as far as fan interest and mock drafts. And, you know, the draft has become a year-round spectacle that people are locked in on now, especially if you're Jet fans. You're all too familiar with that. For me, I personally love Daniel Jeremiah, and I love Connor Rogers. You know, Connor's a Jet fan, does a Jet podcast, and I just think he's excellent the way he breaks things down. I think Jeremiah is great as well. But I honestly like a lot of guys. I listen to McShay a ton. I value Matt Miller from ESPN, Dane Brugler from The Athletic. I've had all these guys on my show in the past, and I think they all do such a great job. So I'm sure I'm missing some too, but I really value the opinions of all these guys because I just know how much work goes into it. Trevor Sycamore from PFF is another guy I really respect. It's hard to study this many players and be able to formulate accurate opinions and the scouting breakdowns. I'd throw my guy Dom C from JetX into that conversation as well. I think he does a great job. So there's a lot, man. But Kiper, I mean, he's the GOAT because he was like the first to really become the quintessential draft analyst in the mainstream media.
Hey, we still got time. So let me just a quick follow-up. Sorry, Boy Green.
Please. No.
On Ty Simpson, what is the earliest you think he could go? Realistically, what do you think the earliest is he could go at this point?
I guess it's technically 3 to the Cardinals, but I'd be really surprised. 11 to the Miami Dolphins, I suppose, would be the earliest if I had to say, like, be realistic. Even that feels early. Again, I think we're talking about maybe Pittsburgh at pick 21, the earliest I see Ty Simpson coming off the board.
I could see that as well. Again, we're speaking with Jake Asman here, the leader of Asmaniac Madness, which is hot going on right now in the month of March, of course. And Jake, before I even ask a question, I don't know how long you've been doing this, so you could give an Asmaniac Madness plug here. But what a genius pull, man, because every Jets content creator show that's going on Boy Green Daily this morning, people are making their case for Asmaniac Madness calling into the show to get better positioning. I'm just tuning into random other Jet shows, and I'm seeing the seeding take place and everything else. So you've clearly built a monster here, Jake Asman. So how many years has this been going? And maybe even explain it for some members of our audience that somehow have been living under a rock and don't know what this is about. Walk us through this, because this has been genius.
So, I mean, it really is kind of crazy how it all came about. As Maniac Madness, this is only the second year we've done it. It's inspired by, of course, the actual March Madness that happens in the month of March and will get underway tomorrow. But basically, what we did is some of my more dedicated listeners and my video guy Gator and the guy who runs my Discord for any of my Patreon users, Sham, and a couple other Jet content creators who regularly appear on the show, they're part of an Asmaniac Madness committee, and they all met over the phone or over Zoom and debated who the top 68 callers were. And just like you do for college hoops, we seeded them 1 through 68 in a tournament, right? And we did 4 1 seeds, 4 2 seeds, so on and so forth, till we got all the way up to 68. We had a play-in round and then cut it down to the round of 64, like the actual March Madness tournament is. And basically every show in the month of March, I do 2 shows a day. People vote in a YouTube poll for the matchup that day. So, for instance, earlier today, we had the big fella on the bottom left up against Doug on the couch. It was the 2 seed against a 15 seed, and the big fella cruised to an easy win. He won 80-20, 80% of the vote for big fella, 20% to Doug. We leave the poll open for the duration of my show. Whoever has more votes advances. And it's just a really cool way to kind of acknowledge all the great callers who make my show what it is. And it gives me an opportunity to basically have some really fun content at a time when Jet fans typically are excited and locked into the show. So it's been really cool to kind of connect the community through this. People have like very serious debates on who to vote for. The committee, I give them so much credit. Like, it's not a joke to them. They take it truly serious. Like, there's like really like intriguing back and forth on who to rank where. And I have one guy named Boomtown who watches all my shows and actually keeps stats throughout the year and who's called in and who's been a great caller, who had this great moment. Wow. He like has all the research that the committee went through to come up with this. And it wasn't easy, man. Like, we came up with 68 names, but there were some people I felt like were deserving that were on the outside looking in. So a long answer to your question, but basically it's a way to determine who is the fan favorite caller on the Jake Asman YouTube show. So it's just a way to connect the community. And for me, it's just an awesome way to kind of bring people together and have some fun. It's not that serious at the end of the day. It's a Jet YouTube show, but it's a cool little side plot on a show that covers the New York Jets every day.
2 quick follow-ups. First off, what does the winner get for Asmaniac Madness, and how many years have you been now doing it, Jake?
You said
so. This is the second year. The winner will get a trophy that we named after one of my listeners who passed away, unfortunately, from cancer about 1.5 years ago, Keith Best. So we named the trophy the Best of the Best trophy that the winner will actually get. So we have that. They're also going to get some signed Jets memorabilia. I haven't revealed what it is just yet, but it's going to be really cool. Okay. And people also were able to enter an actual custom bracket pool. Shout out to my sponsor, Splash Sports. They allowed me to design a custom Asmaniac Madness bracket where people could enter the pool for free, fill out their bracket, and just like in the actual March Madness, if your team wins, you get a point. If the Asmaniac you picked won their round, you get a point, and whoever has the most points at the end wins the bracket pool. And first place gets a signed Nick Mangold jersey. Second place gets a signed Darrelle Revis helmet. And third place is a signed Wayne Corbett helmet. So just a little listener appreciation. We had almost 200 people fill out brackets, which is really cool. And people are super into it, man. It's really fun.
Phenomenal, Jake. Phenomenal. All right. Yeah. We appreciate the live pop in here. Do appreciate it, my friend. Thanks for giving us a heads up. And
actually,
we'll talk to you again next week. You got something, Boy Green?
Yeah, I just want to squeak in 1 or 2 more here real quick for you, Jake.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I just want to give plenty of Asmaniac Madness plug here. Is the Jalen Waddle trade good news or bad news for the Jets, Jake? Now, that may sound silly. Well, why would it be bad news? It's great. That and it's the AFC East, because Jalen Waddle is leaving, and he's a really talented player, so leaving would be good. But the Dolphins sucking, there's been this march for Arch. There may be some Jake Asman merch out there with some March for Arch action, and people believe that the Dolphins have now put themselves in a better position for the March for Arch, which again, Dolphins sucking, good for Jets, but maybe bad for Jets. So where are you at there with it, Jake?
Yeah, I kind of see both sides of it, not to try and sit on the fence here, not give you a take. I find it weird that they made the move for Malik Willis and then you traded away his best weapon. I don't quite understand what their strategy is. I know they're up against it cap wise, but man, you just invested in your quarterback. Don't you want to truly find out if you have a guy? Because if you are bad enough to take a quarterback, well, then you wasted all this money on Willis and you're dealing with his cap ramifications, right? The Jets are dealing with the dead cap still from Aaron Rodgers and now Justin Fields they have to deal with, for example. So To me, it's weird. I think big picture, Eileen, it's a good thing because while the Dolphins have a lot of picks, there's no guarantee they'll find a player as good as Waddle. And we can't just assume, oh, without Waddle, they're automatically going to be bad and get a quarterback. Like, to me, I know this is a weird year where it just feels like it's clearly Mendoza than everyone else. I don't expect that to be the case a year from now. I know it's fun to make the March for Arch jokes, and we all do it, but I think there'll be other quarterbacks besides just Arch Manning that will be first-round graded QBs in the class in 2027. So if the Jets don't end up being the worst team in the league and it's Miami, that doesn't mean the Jets can't end up getting their long-term answer at quarterback as well.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's good for the Jets too. Two quickies in terms of things that are still missing for the Jets. Do you have a QB2 target? Geno Smith, see the jersey over my shoulder there. He's QB1, but QB2 critically important. Even though Geno's been relatively healthy through the last chunk of time of his career, it's still an important role because seemingly every year outside of Rodgers in 24 and Fitzpatrick in 2015, we have been forced to use multiple quarterbacks in a season. So outside of those two situations. So do you have a desired QB2 target for the Jets, Jay?
Yeah, I would prefer the Jets to try and go with someone with maybe a possible upside. People might laugh, but why not see if you can get Will Levis? See if he just needs a change of scenery like Malik Willis did. Same situation. Malik Willis blossomed with some real coaching a couple of years into his career. To me, I'd rather someone with some semblance of an upside because, what good is trading a day 3 pick to get Andy Dalton? Oh, well, he knows Frank Reich's offense. He's 38. Who cares? I rather if Geno gets hurt or is ineffective and they don't have a Ty Simpson, let's say, wouldn't you rather the backup be someone that maybe could develop into something? Will Levis probably isn't good, or Spencer Rattler, or whoever you want to throw out for this type of role I'm describing. But isn't there the chance of them maybe being something? I'd rather that than just, here's Andy Dalton, who's 38, and he's the backup to 36-year-old Geno Smith. That doesn't really do anything for me.
Touche. Last one here is the wide receiver 2 conversation, Jake. We've been having it all over the place. How does Darren Muji cook? Denver's overflowing with receivers. Do you raid that cabinet? And Muji was there for 13 years. Natural connections. Is that where they go and get one of those receivers from over there? Is it the draft? Is it another trade possibility? Clearly, the Jets need somebody not named Garrett Wilson in this room beyond him to add to this room. But the free agent names, I'm not sure if Stephon Diggs and Juwan Jennings and those guys want to play for the Jets, especially at the money that's going to be there. So what's the solution here, Jake?
I think they need to sign a veteran, and then they're going to have to draft someone with one of their premium picks. I think 16. If it was up to me, 16 would be a wide receiver. We'll see what the board looks like when they're up. But I definitely would go wide receiver in round 1. Juwan Jennings is still available. He's 6'2", 6'3", good player. I think it'd be a nice veteran complement to what they have with Garrett Wilson. That's who I would target at this point. I know the money for these receivers is insane, and that's why the Jets are sitting out of it because they're like, we could just probably get our guy in the draft. But last year they went into the year with Garrett Wilson, and then their number 2/3 receivers were Josh Reynolds and Tyler Johnson. It's not good enough. And I don't want them to make that same mistake again. I think A.D. Mitchell is better than some give him credit for, but I don't know if he's ready to be a number 2 receiver in the league. So I want another veteran addition. And I think the draft, if they took 2 receivers, I wouldn't hate it. I think there's some really good ones in this class.
All right, Jake, we do appreciate it. We'll talk to you again next week, buddy.
Thank you guys for having me. Really appreciate it.
All right, there he goes. Jake Asman giving us some love here rather than do it recorded, which we had it planned about 1 o'clock today. We get it live. Love it. All right, Boy Green. So let's tie up any loose ends we have from this wonderful live show. It's been a real cavalcade of information. Mike Lissette, very interesting stuff. Of course, I want to remind people again, we have our Survivor show tonight, the recap show right after Survivor episode 4 of season 50. And we'll kick that off right around 9:40, 9:45 tonight. Right, the episode's an hour and a half. It starts at 8, and we will hit the airwaves about 9:40, 9:45. Brett LaBelle, of course, will be on hand breaking it all down. We'll see who gets eliminated tonight. Will one of us take a hit in the fantasy draft, Boy Green? That is the question.
Take a look at before we dip.
You got a target on there?
Well, because you said it earlier, we're all still intact, but some are in more danger than others. If I'm basing it off the previous episode here, let me see if I'm looking through. Rizzo, man, he seems in a very bad place with Charlie. And I think, with all due respect, Charlie, speaking of respect, Charlie has more respect. People know his game. They've seen him they sort of know who he is. Rizzo is a mystery, and we saw with Savannah that mystery. It's easier to snuff that torch than play around with someone you don't know, and you know she won. So you're like, man, she must have some sort of secret voodoo magic. Let's just get rid of her, take that chess piece off the board, and let's play with us what we do know. Again, that is a black mark. That was a black mark clearly for Savannah. I think that's a black mark for Rizzo. And while I give him a lot of credit when he first got on the island, everyone said, look at this annoying idiot. And then he sort of tried to save his game a little, and then he's just sort of reckless with the mouth. And depending on which tribe you're on, sometimes that can be okay and no one cares. Look at his season 49 performance, obviously. And then sometimes with Charlie, say the wrong thing to the wrong person, and it causes you trouble. So I think Brett's in some trouble there with Rizzo for sure. And
Sheree, I think, is on the radar. I think she's on the radar.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I mean, she's been playing smartly though, and seems like she's starting to get aligned correctly. But I think she's on some people's radar. We'll see.
Maybe it's foreshadowing, right? Because this is now twice. So, okay, we're about to recap episode 4 tonight. So we've had 3 episodes to unpack here. In 2 of the 3 episodes, they have given us the people talking again, it's the edit. But we have gotten D with somebody else and then D with Jonathan were the 2 that we saw. D did not say to Jonathan initially, whoever she was talking to, like on episode 1 when it came up about Suri, right. But she was talking to someone else. But we've now seen it twice. What are the editors, what are the Survivor people trying to tell us? Twice they've brought up like, oh boy, can't let Suri hang around. Are they foreshadowing Suri going out early and that they're dropping these breadcrumbs? I don't know. But that would be the only thing for me on Suri. Or else it's just, sometimes they give you, a little bit of fake action that we're like, and then it's not. They're just, sort of, jerking you around and you don't really know what's happening. So yes, I guess I would say that. And then for you, it doesn't
seem Christian. He's starting to get, he's starting to get a little attention here, more attention than I would want to be at this stage of the game. Because
Genevieve, obviously, and Genevieve telling Tiffany and that being very sloppy. Now the thing is, I think she has enough control where Aubrey and Tiffany should not be able to do anything. But you never know. It's Survivor. Crazy stuff can happen. So Genevieve, who I loved, she was very high on my draft board.
If it's not me, it's fine.
Right. But I would say again on my fantasy draft board, because now I could spill all the cards. The draft is a draft. Genevieve was very high on my list, very high. I had her high on my draft board, and then just that part gave me a little heebie-jeebie with the Tiffany thing of like a lack of awareness that she was not aligned with Tiffany and gave her some information. But besides that, Joe, he got saved with the tribe swap. He's in a phenomenal position. He looked very on the fence, which was not good for you. And yeah, Christian did have that moment, but I side with Christian. Like Emily was a nutcase. How did she respond in that way? That was surprising.
Yeah, and Mike White he's been like a leader in this one. I'm surprised.
Sure.
He's trying to be a decision maker when it comes to eliminations in this. And early on, I think last time he played, it was just a little more under the radar and just being friendly Mike White. Now he's friendly Mike White, but then he's like devious Mike White over here. I think that White Lotus right in that show, and it's devious, dark plot, perhaps has Mike White thinking a little bit more deviously than the last time he was on the show. So he's going to be an interesting player to watch as well. So Brett was kind of lamenting, oh man, you're right. I'm really starting to like Mike White. I thought there'd be no way they'd give this guy $1 million. And that now he's like, maybe they will. Mike White's pretty quick. He's pretty smart. He's pretty shrewd.
Yeah. And because I don't know if everyone feels this way, but you want someone who's a good representative of a winner of a season to represent what the season was. And I would say the only sloppy part I saw from him, and it didn't bite him at all, is Mike White told Stephanie to her face as they're hanging around camp, yeah, I'm planning on voting for you tonight. Like, that was just very interesting. They didn't. It was all a ploy to distract, and Q ended up getting the hook. But that, to me, was interesting. So that was the only sloppiness, quite frankly, I've seen from Mike White so far. He's got the bod everyone's talking about. He's savvy, obviously. He's a writer. He's a great storyteller. But, yeah, you should feel very good for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's put a nice, neat bow on this one, man. I'm looking forward to tonight. Again, it was a lot of good stuff. We had NCAA tournament talk in there today. Yep. Talk a little about the Syracuse coaching hire. We'll keep our eye on that for all the local viewers. And
we're not hired yet. We don't know who's being hired.
No hire yet, but chatter and talk.
Yeah, conversation.
And perhaps the changing to Syracuse. I got to give Syracuse University a little bit of credit here in this sense, Boy Green.
All right.
I think for the most part, they've done a pretty good job of keeping this under wraps. Now, okay, this Hodgson thing leaks out, okay, because it's.
And who's the other guy? Who's the other guy that rejected them too? Someone else?
Well, Shirts took an extension,
Shirts.
so
But isn't that what could happen here? Where you're like dismissing it, saying, "Well, yeah, he took an extension," but Hodgson could just take an extension. He could reject them, use them to get more money from the school he's at. That's still a rejection based on the
leverage,
word,
right? You try to use leverage any way you can. Sometimes that's definitely true. You got more than it's like selling a house. You got 3 buyers. Leverage. You want to get the highest price. So leverage them against each other and try and drive the one who's willing to go way above the price. That's what you do. So, yeah, I don't know. My thought really is here that it's been a lot of speculation. Like, how serious are they about Jerry McNamara? I'm really still not sure. Is Mike Hopkins even getting a phone call? I'm really not sure. Are there any dark horse candidates that nobody's talking about at this point? We've had this little short list. It hasn't been a very broad list. It's been a pretty short list,
that I've seen, right?
Shirts and Hodgson and Jerry. Like, those are the 3 guys that anybody has really even talked seriously about. So, like, this, come on, the list has to be a little longer than that, doesn't it?
I would hope that the list is.
And I also think it's fascinating because of the arrival of the new athletic director at the time that he's arrived. It just seems like he's been like a cauldron, like just
accelerated.
Fire, man. Like, okay, man, walk on hot coals now, buddy. You're in on this, and frankly, he should be in on it at the highest level because,
of course,
he is the athletic director. This guy's going to report directly to him. So you want it to be somebody that you like. You want it to be somebody that you respect. You want it to be somebody that you see being effective at their job. So it's a fascinating little world we have up here in Central New York at the moment until this hire is made. But I think I agree with Bud Poliquin, who said it the other day in our video, and it's been going viral, that in the end, despite all the posturing and the chatting about this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy and, deep national search, I think it's going to be Jerry McNamara. I'm with Bud. I think it's going to land on that square. I don't think Jerry can turn down $2 million more per year. He's not going to turn that down.
If Jerry rejects Syracuse, my goodness.
Right. They would not want that to leak out, that they offered Jerry, and Jerry said, yeah, not now. I'll take a pass. Even if it was just not now, it's like,
that's still a no. Yeah, right. Hey, will you marry me? Can we revisit this? That's still a no.
We'll be doing about a 4-hour show if that happens.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
But I don't. Come on now, that's not going to happen.
There's no way. I'd be shocked. I'd flabbergasted. I don't know what the word.
It's going to be a 4-hour show.
Yeah.
People just absolutely losing their minds here in Central New York. I don't think that's going to happen. So let's not pontificate about that, which we don't. Really
but you do think that it's going to be Jerry McNamara?
I do at this point. Yep, I do. I think
100% of a pie.
I think they really did want to, and it looks like they did take a run at this South Florida guy who has a really nice reputation, both as an X's and O's coach,
right? Western New York ties,
more specifically as a very aggressive, very effective recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know a ton about what kind of contributions he would make in the NIL world, but the profile to me feels like this is a guy that could help in that world too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it just seemed like all those pieces were in place. That you would chase this guy. Obviously, it seems that they did, if you believe the reporting that's going on now, and that he just whatever he doesn't, whether it's he doesn't have an interest in Central New York, whether he doesn't like the NIL current budget that Syracuse has, which according to some experts sits somewhere around $8 million. That Providence is knocking on his door with what looks like more like a $12 million budget and saying, come over here. Or you have South Florida trying to basically do what St. Louis did with Shirts, which is, come on, man, stay here for another few years. We'll give you some more money. Stay here. You're doing a great job. Stay here. Continue doing a great job. So, this guy's got a lot of people, throwing rose petals at his feet right now. That's not a bad place to be. Not a bad place to be in the job market. So, kudos to him. But Syracuse, if indeed he was number one, needs to pivot quickly to number two. And I just, all of the bones inside me say that number two is Jerry. That they're not. That there's nobody else that's going to elevate above him. There are some really remarkable assistant coaches, like UConn has 2 of them, all right, that work on Dan Hurley's staff that a lot of people think are going to be great head coaches and that are already at the assistant coach level, great recruiters, all right? And they're obviously at a program that has done pretty well. But how do you justify to your fan base, to your people, that you're going to take someone with no coaching? You just had a guy with no coaching experience fail, and he was homegrown. And now you're going to take a stranger, okay, with a reputation somewhere else, with no coaching experience and make them your head coach. When you have a guy who's your own guy, all right, who went out and got 2 years of experience, has his team in the NCAA tournament right now in his second year, all right, and has shown in 2 years how, the ability to coach up a team and recruit some players and build a roster. And he's your guy. And he's one of the most, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Bud said it on the video again the other day. In my opinion, he's the most popular Syracuse player in the history of Syracuse basketball. And that includes Carmelo Anthony, and includes Dave Bing, and includes some unbelievably Lawrence Moten. The list goes on and on. We have the Pearl, probably the closest. You could
Rosie?
you could make an argument. There's only one guy that you could argue for,
in
my opinion. All right. And it's not Carmelo. Carmelo's only here a year. I mean, I understand he won national championship. He's only here a year. Jerry McNamara's here for 4 years.
Okay.
And did things without Carmelo. Okay.
Yeah.
Continued his lore, continued the lore of Jerry.
Carmelo was here 1 year. Right.
1 year. It's just hard. He'll always be among the greats.
Of course.
But 1 year definitely hurts. I mean, it's 1 year. Won a national championship, and it's the only one. That's what makes it so significant. And then what he ends up doing in the NBA and becoming one of the all-time leading scorers, that all affects the Carmelo cauldron. But the only guy you can compare is Pearl Washington. He's the only
Pearl, sure.
Because Pearl Washington, the impact that he had on the Syracuse program when he arrived from good old boys and girls in New York, high school that's no longer there, I'm pretty sure, in New York City. And how, if you have any conversations with Jim Boeheim, he would probably stop and end with Pearl. I mean, I know he loves Jerry, but I think he would say it's Pearl. I disagree with him. I think that Jerry, in my prism, I feel like Jerry may have surpassed Pearl in some ways. They're different. They're just very different. But Pearl really ultimately took a birthed program that from the Louie and Bowie show, kind of began, all right, to a power. Okay. And he was charismatic. He was, the New York City guy who comes to Syracuse, and he has the sleight of hand, and he's the tricky point guard. And, we know the lore. He's hit big shots too. So on and so forth. So it's just two guys to me. It's those two. I'll pick Jerry, but I would not blink an eye to someone who sat next to me and said, well, I'll take Pearl. I'd say, good for you. Tomorrow I could take Pearl. Today I'm taking you.
Okay, so
again, say no to that guy.
If the pie is 100% of of what you think is going to happen, how much of that pie right now is like Jerry McNamara is going to be the head coach? How much of 100% of a pie?
80%.
Ooh, okay. I thought you were going to be higher based on how you were talking. So okay, 80. All right.
Because here's the reason why I sit at 80 and not 95.
Okay. Right.
Because I don't know the new AD. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah, I don't
Blair thinks of Jerry McNamara. I don't know what Brian Blair thinks of any other potential candidate that's out there.
Sure.
And let's face it, Brian Blair had to have been in on this decision. It appears, thought that Brian Hodgson was the best candidate on the table.
Right.
Indeed,
you'd assume, I guess. Right.
Which is what we're being led to believe, that he was offered the job, and he said no. So you don't offer the job unless he's the top of your list.
Right.
So that means he was in front of Jerry or anyone else that's on the list. So that gives me that 20% pause that, that he doesn't have that historical lore. He's not a Syracuse alum like John Wildhack is, the former AD on his way out, okay, who is, part of this decision-making crew, it sounds like. He doesn't have that. So he has I think it might even be a good thing for Syracuse to have a guy like Blair.
Outsider, right.
In on this decision, because he's not going to see it just simply through orange-colored glasses. I think he's going to see it through his own prism and his own. Now, he's going to consider, of course, the history of the program and the lore of the guys being considered. But I don't think that that it's going to necessarily be, the strongest prevailing wind for him. That he might be able to look at it more objectively, which I think is a good thing for Syracuse in all honesty.
I agree.
I think it gives him a better chance of choosing the right guy, whether it's Jerry or whether it's not.
And we don't know if Blair this entire time has had a notebook in his desk and said, if I ever become an AD, here is my list of guys that if I was calling the shots, here is my list of guys I do. We don't know who's on that list. And I would assume that list exists for all of us that aspire to be in higher places and what we would do if we were in that position.
Right.
What are the names on that list? Maybe that is the 20% of the pie of I don't know. I don't know this guy I don't know him from some Yahoo. I don't know nothing about him. So yeah, it'll be intriguing. Interesting. So I'm looking forward to it. So anywho, the thing I wanted to remind people of at the end of this is, again, surprise, we didn't have it on the bingo card that Jake Asher is going to join us live. So again, if you are a fan of those Jets interviews, you're a Jets fan out in the audience, we'll cut that up and upload that just like normal. It'll be a collaboration piece. So it'll be its home headquarters is here on the MC Show digital channel, which, by the way, let me throw this back up again. No matter where you're watching, make sure you guys subscribe to that channel. So the Jake Asman interview will be cut up from this live show and uploaded just like normal. So if you're a fan of that interview,
you can just watch Jake.
Yep. Yeah, right. So if you watch Jake, you saw it, so you don't have to see it again, although we'd love it if you want to watch it twice. Feel free to do so. But we will upload it, and it'll be just like normal for anyone that normally enjoys that interview. So that will be uploaded separately. But a huge shout-out to Mike Lissette. That was fun. And to be honest, Lurch, we've been this NFL show, and that is our bare bones and Jets, Giant, Bales, and talking about it. I like this dabbling. I like jumping into these different waters. And, because my show every morning is Jets, and I love the Jets, obviously. But it was cool to sort of dabble in some different waters today, and it was receptive to the fans. So thank you to everyone who was tuning in.
So when we have days, when it's not big news going on, there aren't breaking things, we'll we can dabble a little bit. As a matter of fact, I'll put this on the table right now before we go out. I talked to you about this morning, but we're going to do this. And it's just a question of whether we're going to create a special date and do it on our own special day and just call it an exclusive live presentation on a day that we don't usually do a live show, or we might just turn one of our live shows into this at the, we find a live show where like today, there's eclectic things going on, but nothing that's really absolute positive, an absolute for us to be covering. Yeah. And we're going to do, and this is inspired by, I want to lay this out there, by the way, this is inspired by EZ. Your listener, your viewer from your Jets channel. Easy might be a subscriber to our channel too. I'm not sure if he is or isn't, but he's a good dude. I've seen him many times on your show. I know he loves the Jets.
He does.
And Easy, a little over a week ago or something, I was watching on one of your weekend shows, and Easy pops in there with his guitar and his amplifier. Yeah. And starts playing some tunes, starts like
out of nowhere.
Guitar, and people got in the comments and were like, man, hey, play this, do this, poor Easy is like, hey, listen, I'm an amateur, I play a little, here, I'll play.
He's a singer normally. So
but he has some nice guitars.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
And so I was watching that show, and I told you privately, but we'll release it publicly now. I said, we have to do a show. I have a musical background. I used to be a bass player for many years, played in several
bands. Yeah.
And the guy who voiced and played all the instruments in our open, the Manchild Show with Boy Green open that you see every day with the two of us running through the streets of some, faux Gotham place. All right. Running from bowls and stuff. I don't know what the heck we're doing in that open.
I'm not sure.
In a Jets jersey and a Giants jersey. Nick Lamangino. You can't call him Nicky. I'm the only one that can call him.
I've attempted that, and that caused some issues.
Right? Yeah. We grew up. We went to elementary school together.
I'm not cool. I'm not cool like that. I'm not in. Yeah.
So you can't call him Nicky, but I can. But everyone else has to call him Nick Lamangino. Nick, who is a musician since I was a kid, and continues to play in rock and roll bands. I checked in with him this morning, and my idea was, after watching Easy, mess around on your show and how fun that was, just to see somebody playing around with a guitar. I said, let's do an all music show, and I'll invite Nick in with his guitars and his amplifier. And Nick can really play. I mean, he can play, he can sing. He's a multi-talented guy. He's really an incredible musician and a really good singer as well. And so I said, let me get Nick, and we'll do like a fun music show. Now, cards on the table. Neil Adler, our SU insider from inside the Loud House, that will be joining us again this Friday, joins us every Friday to talk SU basketball. He's a music nut too, and we got turned on to Duran Duran by him because his son is a big Duran Duran thing. So I'm connecting all the dots here, but it's going to be me. It's going to be you. We're going to invite Neil Adler and Nick Lamangino, and we're just going to do a fun music show. Nick will play some stuff. We'll talk about the history. You can ask him silly questions about what I was like when I was in a band playing with them, how the heck they even got me to play in a band with them. There's a whole backstory to that. So we can kind of relive this whole thing. and play some tunes. And if people pop into the comments, you know, they might be able to get in there and do some requests. Nick knows certainly a lot of songs in all the years that he's played, but I already have created a little mini list. I got to play this, got to play this, got to play this.
Oh,
so
great.
Nick will play some stuff for us. And we'll just have a nice friendly chat. The funny thing about Nick, and I talked to him this morning, as I told you on the phone.
Yeah.
This is a guy that has been on a stage his whole life, you know?
Yeah.
He's a lead singer and a guitarist, right? Lead guitarist and lead singer for a million years. Okay. And I'm talking to him this morning. He's like, all right, well, what are you going to ask me? I'm like, we're going to talk music. What do you mean? What are we going to ask you? You know, He's like, well, you know, I'm not good with this stuff with, you know, just talking, you know. I'm like, you'll be fine, for crying out loud. You're in a room with your pals. You're just going to be talking about silly stuff from the old band days, and you're going to play some songs, and people are going to say funny things in the comments, and hopefully they'll do some requests, and we'll have a good time talking music.
Yeah.
And we got this guy over here too, who does our SU basketball stuff, and he's a Duran nut. So he's probably going to talk to you about Duran and other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway, long story short, I was like, just don't worry. You'll be fine. You know, he's asking me for like a list of questions. I'm like, are you out of your mind? We're not doing a list of questions. All right. So anyway, I'll get him, you know, I'll set him up for success, but he's a little nervous about, you know,
he's on stage.
He's in front of people all the time, and he's like nervous about being on a YouTube show. I'm like, dude, take it easy. You're fine. Don't worry. Come on, be good.
And I'll tell you,
so we can make sure we put Nick at ease. Okay.
Okay, good.
Well, more nervous than he already is.
I can't wait. You know, the Boy Green. It's cool that the Boy Green Coffee Club inspired this. That's
inspired
awesome.
by Easy. If you're out there, man, you inspired this. So there you go.
Well, shout out. I've seen Easy play guitar. Hep has played guitar. He's played acoustic, electric. I mean, he's done a little bit of everything.
He plays. Yep.
Yeah. So we've got a very talented group of tools, and I've appreciated in the moment, obviously, how many people responded to that, said, wow, this is cool out of nowhere. And I felt the same way when I brought him up on the show. I didn't even see the guitar. I thought he was just sitting there at the desk, and I brought him up and he's already playing. I'm like, whoa, okay. So you know, surprises happen all the time.
Very good. All right, so we'll do that. We'll get a date for that and let you know when it's going to happen. I'm going to have to let Nick know at least a little bit in advance so that he can have a setup and everything. So,
are you going to be playing something too, Lurch?
R&R party saying that BG on bongos or tambourine? What do you think, man?
Yeah, are we all being involved, or are we doing more watching happening? Like
R&R, I don't know if you want to see Boy Green on the bongos or tambourine.
Yeah,
really
I'm not sure. Yeah,
could go in a wrong direction there.
Yeah, I'm not quite the musician. That's not my talents. That's not where my talents are.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that'll put a nice neat bow on this one. Thanks to everybody for tuning in today. Again, like I said earlier, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel at MC Show Digital on YouTube. That's our home base. You see the link right there. If you are a subscriber and you want to support the channel in a bigger way, membership, you see that scrolling right below us. You can get in as a member and help support the channel. And we also have a shop open now. You can buy merch now. You see Boy Green and I are wearing the 12th MC hats today. We've got T-shirts. We've got golf shirts. We've got a coffee mug. You see me drinking from my coffee mug all the time. 12th MC on one side, the Manchild Show with Boy Green logo on the other side. And
I saw requests alert.
We have the pint glass as well.
Yeah, Matt from Auburn earlier in the show said beer koozies, hoodies. Are those coming to the 12th MC merch store? Are you taking requests just like Nick Lamangino? Apparently,
you can always do that, Matt. I'll tell you this on the hoodies. So I have already actually done a sample on hoodie, and I like the hoodie that was shipped to me and that was logoed. I think what I'm going to do on the hoodie front, because we are coming into the spring and then the summer. I mean, we are heading into the warm weather months where typically hoodies are not worn. So I think what we will probably do is we probably will keep the hoodie on the shelf and we will release that item. We will release that item towards the end of the summer going into the fall. So that, you know, people who are now looking for a hoodie can buy a hoodie. So it's T-shirts right now, but hoodies to come, and it's already been sampled and tested, and I'm very, very happy with the hoodie that I got. So I'll work on color choices and all that kind of stuff. And but the logo came out fantastic on the hoodie. I'll wear it one of these upcoming shows so you can see it.
Great.
I actually wore it sometime last week, but I didn't really talk about it. Sometimes, you know, my logo sits below the.
Yeah, I was about to say it must have been hidden, or I would have definitely. If I
got my Syracuse Mets
very
jersey.
nice.
It's actually the Mike Piazza on the back, number 31.
Oh, nice.
So that was a special giveaway when Piazza came over to the stadium here in Syracuse. So that was pretty cool. And there is a Mike Piazza mural actually on one of the big walls at NBT Bank Stadium right here in Syracuse.
9 days away, Lurch, is when the Syracuse Mets season starts. I will be on the opening call of the game back at the radio station. So we're 9 days away, believe it or not.
Okay. So anyway, so that's, but the cozies, that's a good idea. I will look into that. Koozies, thank you. The koozies, good idea. Because I like beer koozies. That's good, especially for the summer months and for tailgating. So I'll find out if our manufacturer makes those, and if we can slap a logo on those. That'd be awesome.
That'd be great for the summer.
For you, Matt. So koozies could be an addition coming soon.
Okay.
Hoodies will be an addition
later, months away.
Probably not until we get closer to the fall months. We'll do it as an exclusive launch back then. All right. I got enough as a shopkeeper. Let me tell you, I'm a little busy, Matt. Okay. I'm a little busy, but I appreciate these suggestions as always. And I appreciate any comments that all of you made. Want to thank Johnny Boy for his super chat as well. Thank you, Johnny Boy, for chiming in. Always good to hear from you, my friend. All right. We will be back at it again live tonight. Live tonight. All right. At
9:45.
All right, so that's our next live show. We've got Jets, Giants, and Bills insiders, again, all coming up. Jake Asman, in case you missed them, we'll put that into place. So Jets already done. We've got Giants and Bills coming up in the next couple of days. More SU basketball with Neil Adler. Sean Devaney, our NBA insider, joining us Friday as usual as well. So a lot of content still coming the rest of this week. Appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you click on subscribe. Make sure you have the notifications up so you know when we're putting stuff out. We will see you next time, everybody. Peace out. Take care.